Oh God, it's gonna rain, isn't it? Yeah, I'll show you what I'm looking at. This has to be my worst idea. All right. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, let's do this. Okay. All right, let's just hurry up and get it done. Uh, no, we need to take our time. We have so much interesting stuff to talk about. Ooh, I was supposed to look beforehand.
Yeah, but there is.
I was supposed to. I see.
Bien. ¿Puedo hacer una entrevista contigo? Yeah. Antes que. But there. I feel like there is. Sí.
Okay.
De tu mente.
Okay, so close that. All right.
Expression also with.
Okay, so we'll start here. Um. Great. So, just some things to throw out there. One thing I know I want to ask people is, hey, when you have an emotional problem, um, if I have an emotion problem, would you recommend I go see a cardiologist, or maybe like a psychologist and a cardiologist, and they can like work together? Or someone who's like studied the heart and how it functions and different potential treatments for it. The other thing, I need to focus on this whole concept of this whole objection people have to being molecules. I've talked to people about the soul, the mind. We'll talk more about that with people. Um, but I want to maybe start my interviews asking straight up. Am I recording? I want to start my interviews by asking people straight up, yo, are you molecules? Because I just think it looks so absurd. I just think it looks so absurd if I had a bunch of interviews with people going, no, I'm not molecules. No, not me. No, I'm my host is molecules, but no, not me. Um, then the other thing that just came to mind is molecules. Oh yeah, just that one way to win any movement is to condescend the other side, but to make a mockery of. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about like right wing memes on Instagram versus like late night talk show hosts, and how a lot of it's just so stupid, the stuff they say, but to anything that it's just a natural human process. If you disagree with someone and you see an opportunity and you see something sort of that makes you laugh about what they're saying, say that thing. And it's not like these humans know that they're being sort of manipulative. But yeah, this mechanism is sort of manipulative, but it's sort of also self-manipulative. You're like, this thing makes me laugh because I'm a stupid human brain, and actually, that sort of maybe I don't know. Let's say a speaker of the opposite party of yours made a gaffe while they were talking, misused a word. Okay. Of course, if it's your speaker, you know that mistakes happen. That's no big deal. If it's the other side, you're like, pathetic, blah blah. And that's just because you're a stupid human brain. Then you go to the other people who are part of your side, and you go, he's so stupid, right? And when people don't take a camp or ideas seriously, it really doesn't matter what the sort of ideas are. It's just like, that's so stupid. You just make a caricature out of whatever the other camp is, and that's just a totally natural thing that happens. That that we character blah blah blahs the other side. It's just a part of our interpretation of the other side, and then we just share that with other people. It's not an intentional manipulative thing. Anyway, that said, that is something we would want to avoid because it is silly and stupid. Um, but you know what else is silly and stupid? Thinking that you're not molecules. That is actually funny. That is actually a bit silly. There is actually very little evidence to, if any, to support that. And all of the experience or evidence that exists to support that are things that, like, of course you have that experience. So, like, our experience supports the idea that we're not molecules. And we, through the study of molecules and psychic patterns, even if we don't have the sort of biological underpinnings, the molecules, but we do know the tendencies of human brains and human minds. We like know why you would think that you're not molecules. So not only is there no evidence for the idea that you're not molecules, but also any experience that you have or any sense that you have that you're not molecules has been explained. Basically, or I've explained it on this channel. The brain didn't know what to do with itself. It didn't see a brain. It saw a face, and it experienced a continuity of memory and senses and blah, blah, blah. It experiences limits and boundaries between this and that. So yeah, it thinks of itself as a single thing, not millions and billions of neurons. Yeah. I don't know how complete that was, but that's not the point of this video. And if it wasn't complete, let's talk about it, and we'll talk more about it. Okay, so carrying on. So let's start here.
Do you mind? What do you mind? Let's stick on this one. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have pointed. Where is this mine?
The mind, for me, I would say it's a bit basic, what I'm gonna say, but for me, the mind is like inside my body, like everywhere.
It's like everywhere.
Yeah. Because this is what we are and we are. Yeah.
And so, what kind of effect if I? So these processes.
This one's tricky because I guess the mic thing wasn't fully plugged in, but I hope it is now. The mic receiver wasn't fully plugged in, so the sound's a little bit difficult. All right, so she has said that her mind exists throughout her body. Right? People are happy to localize it to the heart sometimes, but certainly not to the brain. Right? That's the only thing that evidence really shows us. So basically, I want to ask her. She said her mind is throughout her body, and I want to ask her. So then, if I like remove this limb or that limb, would I be removing part of your mind? It's not an easy question to ask because, gosh, what if it rains? It's not an easy question to ask. Well, I can leave. There's stuff I can leave here. Okay, it's not an easy question to ask because any experience affects the mind. An experience is input. And the human brain's so cool because input, it's super sensitive to input, I guess. I mean, obviously we could, we'll evolve more and we could become more sensitive to certain input in ways in which it's advantageous, but we're pretty damn sensitive to a lot of the things that are like advantageous. No, I'm giving us too much credit now because it's not like somebody tells you about a study about global warming, and if you don't believe in global warming, you're like, this is affecting me now. Not really. But in any case, we have so many if-then mechanisms. We have so many it's that there's a whole bunch of shit. So a bunch of ifs, conditions that we can face for which we have for which we have that it leads to something else. Maybe that in-levers that it, so that it talks to another it. sums with another it, or maybe it leads to some delivery, some behavioral output. I mean, just more than other species, let's say, overall. Okay? So if you lose an arm, it is going to affect your mind. Not in the way of where you're losing interpretive mechanisms necessarily. Although you would be losing maybe the if-thens that have to do with this periphery, senses, and motor, but not necessarily, because that's what phantom limb syndrome or whatever is, right? So that's actually a really good example. And phantom limb, it's like, despite not having this, you still have the perception of this. What does that tell you about where the mind is and where perception is and stuff? All right.
How do those processes change if I cut off both of your arms?
Yeah, that's actually a good question because I've never been in the situation. But of course, it changed. It will change because every single process or like situation or just like changement in your body could be physically or could be mentally. Change everything, change your vision, change your mind.
I mean, even our interactions, right?
Yeah.
The people that we meet, the things that we meet.
Every second, I would say, if you're on the road, you meet, change your mind, I think.
So I guess there are two ways, maybe, we could say that we could talk about two kinds of mind change. There's one where you give it new information.
So I think I handled, or I don't want to say handled. I think I addressed that pretty well. Basically, I said that there's two kinds of mind changes. One, you change the input, and two, you change what is done with the input. So you actually change the its. The its are the mechanisms that treat the input to produce a then. Whatever. Okay.
And that changes the result, the output. Yeah. If the same input, it would have a different output.
Yeah, totally.
So if we cut off your arms, that would be some major new information.
Oh, yes.
That way it changed the mind. Now, do you have cognition processing mechanisms in your arm?
If I have it at the moment or like...
No, in general, I don't know, have you taken biology?
Oh, I wouldn't say, I don't think I have it. I mean... Or maybe I don't know, and that could be actually a good thing to learn, but I don't think so. No.
Okay, so where do
By the way, what does pretty consistently amaze me is the human brain's ability to act like things are unknown when they are at least lowercase k known. The human brain is really, really good at that. Maybe you believe in some fringe thing and you say the mainstream people, they don't like really know, and then you'll say a bunch of questions and it's like, well, actually, if you do a Google search, there are some really good responses to those questions that we could sort of work with. And we don't have to accept everything, but let's not like say that, like, let's just stop lying that there's just no sort of answers. And so what amazes me in these interviews is that people will, there's a huge gap between what is understood about the mind and the self and about human beings, and then what people are willing to accept. And in response to that whole gap, they're like, oh no, this is like normal that I don't accept that because we don't know this. Yes, we've known for hundreds of years, actually. We've known for almost 200 years, if I go back to Finest Gauge. We've known for almost 200 years that changes to the brain are, anyway, this is not about convincing you. This is about reviewing other people.
Process.
So, all right, I'm sorry. Let's do this again.
Mechanisms are.
Where?
Yeah.
I would say actually it's a bit strange, but also very basic. But for me, it's in my. I mean, it's mostly like in my head, and like.
So she says, "In my head."
My breathing.
And then she says her interpretive mechanisms are in her breathing.
Do you mean heart?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard head. Okay.
But also like a little bit. It's between my head and my heart.
My interpretive mechanisms are there's like they're in my heart, but there's some in like my head. Again, this is not to convince you.
What do you know about the brain?
The brain, actually,
So there I said, what do you know about the brain?
kind of something that is very complicated. It's very complex. And that's why also
It's very complex, but it only has a few of those cognitive interpretive mechanisms. So I don't know what the complexity is. So
everyone is very fascinated by the brain. It's also like a bit scary sometimes.
C'est la femme de ménage.
oui, bah oui.
On me dit qu'il faut revenir à midi.
Bah oui, je sais te dire, ça vous fera midi.
Ouais.
Ouais. Sauf si tu connais quelqu'un, après là.
No, but of course everything is going through this area. Sadly, that's why it's a very sensitive.
Sadly, and we're gonna see the word sad come back again.
Why do you say sadly?
I mean, because it's kind of fragile. So everything goes there, but in the meantime, it's an area that is super fragile. So it's a bit risky.
Okay. So your interpretive mechanisms, are they mostly in your brain, or are they in your heart and stomach?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I'm usually more thinking with my head, with my brain, but I'm trying to change.
But also the human brain is really good at knowing things it doesn't know. The only way to know where you exist or where activity is happening or what you're using to think is to look at a neuroscience textbook or a psychobio textbook or a psychology textbook, whatever. Your experiences cannot be trusted. And remember with Fred, if you listen to, I think I published a conversation with him, of course it was in French, but in that conversation, and also in a conversation I had with my friend Juliet, both of them believe in this conscious soul, whatever thing, or at least did. And so I thought, okay, let's talk about two possibilities, or two categories of possibilities, or for ways to understand the human. In the one category, which we've called theory MOA, named after Fred's title for his deity, we trust the human experience. We trust human individual empiricism without augmentation, without tools, blah, 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 unchecked, just human intuitive truth. So basically, we trust human experience, and from that we gather what is real. And so whenever people talk to me about the mind and the soul and the brain, the soul and the magical self and stuff, a lot of the evidence for it is sort of their experiences and their just sense and their just personal judgments and interpretations. Like, of course it has to be this way. Okay, you say of course there has to be a soul and immaterial thing. I hear that, but what if that instinct there, that brain activity there is not reliable? So then the other option is theory neo, which is really sort of the category into which falls it theory, and that's where we can't trust human introspection, human experience, human judgment in order to understand humans, where we actually need tools to look from the outside, external perspective, research, and all that stuff. And so I hear you. If you're going to follow category MOA, if you're going to go that way, absolutely. I'm definitely a soul. I have definitely exited this body. I remember one time when I was a kid, I had fainted and I was in like a wheelchair, and I was I was like this, eyes closed. But I was not only listening to the conversation between the school headmaster and my mom who was pushing my wheelchair, I was also actually floating above them watching this conversation. It was 100% real. Cool. It's an experience to which I think back often. I could see their facial expressions, the way their head was turning, it fit perfectly with the audio, blah, blah. Now, if some rational scientist asshole were to come along, she might say to me, no. The audio information was inspiring a visual, and because of the state you were in, it was experienced as like a real thing and not an imagining. There is a certain truth felt with it, or there was a certain lack of skepticism. Yeah, I don't know. Stupid rational scientists. Stupid neo-category people. Okay.
And to think like differently, to use another part of the body, because usually more thinking with my head, with my brain, but I'm trying to change and to think like differently, to use another part of the body, because
it's just so funny to hear a human talking like this. I've done probably zero reading in what cognition is and how it happens. And it's just like so funny because if she knew what she was talking about, she could be saying some really sort of interesting things. It's just so much valuable stuff in meditation and Buddhism and stuff like that about observing other, or just like observing the self, and also not getting stuck in cognition, but instead engaging more with the environment. You're still, of course, existing here, but it's about a lot of the it's quieting down. We don't need the thens. Just letting these stimuli come in and not needing to treat the information. It's interesting. We should talk about what all that means in it theory. But I think it's something like that. Or any information, it hits an it. It is the key to this it, the stimulus for this it, triggers the it, and then that it can trigger another it, which can trigger another it, which can trigger another it. Or we return to the stimulus and let it maybe trigger the same it again, maybe trigger another it, and then we return to the stimulus, never letting there be too much in-livering here, just trying to sort of receive in different ways, and as though we were existing outside of our minds and in the thing that we are observing.
It's better, because if you keep it
maybe
in your head, it's not, I mean, I think it's a good idea.
Are we talking literally?
So yeah, because really what she's saying like good things, and so I'm like, yeah, like I just said, it should, like, you should do certain practice as though blah 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 blah. But it is useful to understand that you are neural networks. Oh wait, there's one more thing that I want to say, and then we really have to get stuck in the video. Oh, it smells like rain, bro. All right, there's one more thing I have to say, which is, and I really, this is not the video for it, I guess. Ah! Fred, je l'ai fait tomber.
Il est mouillé?
Oui, trompé. Je peux prendre une lettre là?
Il faut faire sécher.
Tu vas mettre à côté de ton portable?
Ah, il est mouillé.
Ah ouais, il est trempé.
Ah, il faut mettre sur le chauffage là. Ah putain, tout tombe dans l'eau aujourd'hui.
Ah oui, bah, j'espère que ça va pas être ça ou ça. J'espère que ton portable et le joint va suffire pour toi là, tes majuscules.
Pour nous protéger. C'est une catastrophe. J'ai eu de la chance, hein. Beaucoup de chance là.
Oui. Okay, so human brains exist. No, human cognition exists because of the numerousness and complexity and plasticity of the system. vision, for instance, is only possible with an organ that is sensitive to photons, that differentiates some photon signals. And so the organ needs to, these photons are conditions for that it, these photons are conditions for that it, and so then you've got a red it or whatever, maybe, I don't know, or a shape it, or certain shape its, or movement its that are there behind the eyeball, ready. Um, and then these neurons need to then send that through the optic chiasm, through the lateral geniculate nucleus of the thalamus, go to the superior colliculus, go to the occipital lobe, and then and follow these different networks, have these different streams of processing, and then the sum of that activity is vision. You remove the eyeballs, you don't have vision. You remove the occipital lobe, you don't have sort of the higher processing of vision. You still have the superior colliculus, so if there's a sudden bright light, you'll still turn your head, but you won't really be able to describe what happened. You'll just come up with an explanation. Oh, maybe you'll say I heard a loud noise, since you have no visual of the loud flash, or the big flash. If you have no thalamus or no relay system for this visual information, presumably there would still be some processing. It's not like you need actually the superior colliculus and the occipital lobe. As long as the information can be received by something and interpreted by something. And the interpretive things, it has to be a whole bunch of binary if-then things. So if X, and it's always X, then yes or no, okay? That is how it works. Thinking, a motor thing, a sensory thing, an emotional thing, all of it requires that there be a network of if-then mechanisms that treat different pieces of information in different ways. And one way to do that is through neurons. Another way to do that is through a motherboard. I don't know how computers work. In biological species, it's through neurons. You also have, of course, root systems, which are not neurons, but you have a whole network of things that take in stimuli, the dryness of the soil over here, the amount of light available over here, the richness of the nutrients over here, that has an effect on networks of things to have an effect on the other end of the network. And then you have sort of a mind, which is how roots, without being neurons, I mean, not, roots, I'm talking about like those fungal systems or even roots, I guess, without being neurons, how, okay, you've got a processing system there. If you remove that fungus or those roots or the mycene network, whatever, you don't have. If you remove those connections and you remove those physical structures, you don't have interpretation. If you remove the motherboard of a computer, if you remove whatever, you don't have that function. But see, we think that we are so special. Y'all upset me. I have to pee. We think that we are so special that we're like, no. It's not about networks. It's like magic dust in the networks. Oh gosh, it's upsetting. Because why would we even, when I talk about quantum mechanics and stuff, it makes me so upset. Why do we need to go to quantum? And I really want you to feel this frustration with me. So that's why I'm all right, let me stop recording. Let me pee and let me try again. All right. Remind me that we have to start recording screen again in a minute. All right, let me try this. Let me make sure we're recording. Imagine a game of telephone. I mean, it's just so stupid, too. I feel like I'm... Anyway, all right. I'm just trying to get it into... And maybe you get it. I don't mean to be mean. Maybe you get it. But I just don't feel like, based on what I've said, I haven't triggered the feeling of getting it for me yet. I don't really have your mind, but I'm just trying to imagine. Actually, it's not even I'm trying to imagine. It's just that there's some it in here that just isn't going good. Done. Okay, so imagine a game of telephone. And a game of telephone requires that there is a hearing receiving entity and transmitting entity that work as a single sort of system, even if it's not an internally coherent and consistent system, but enough to pass what's heard along. It requires that there be a number of these individuals, these interpretive organisms, and then the message can pass from one to the other. You need those links, those pieces to do it. Now imagine if someone said, hey, I wonder how like conversation happens. I wonder whether it's quantum mechanics. So forget telephone. It could just be any kind of interaction, any kind of quantum mechanics. What if they were like, I wonder how that happens. I wonder whether it's like something in the ether, like quantum mechanics. Stop. On a macro scale, it needs to, it can't. I got to just move on. I mean, just imagine what if they're like, what if you remove the humans? That's what we're saying. Like, you remove the neurons, there's still some magic, whatever. And the human brain is so silly because it's not like that's actually should be reasonably in any way easier to imagine or more acceptable as an explanation. That it's this just magic or life fluid that makes neurons be capable of cognition. No, it's neurons that make neurons capable of cognition. I mean, and their connections to other neurons. All right, let's move on. What up? Oh no, this is gonna, oh no, stop. See, all this stuff's gonna go into the cloud. We don't actually want it to. 5. Downloads. Move. Okay, let's see how much space we have. 108 gigabytes. All right, let's go. Let's be serious now. No more dicking around.
Are you talking about literally thinking with another?
Yeah, like or like just like how you behave. If you just like if you think with another organ, yeah, I think that would be more interesting and safer.
Today, there have been times in the past where scientists or doctors.
I think I did get a little bit cheeky. In the interviews you'll see today, I did get a little bit cheeky.
And maybe we thought with the heart, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
The Egyptians thought that the essence was the heart. And the brain, all it does is pull down blood.
Oh, yeah.
So they can go back into the heart and feed the heart.
Yeah, so you can just alter.
So I'm telling her about these ancient like myths about how it works. She's like, yes, exactly.
And change a little bit because That's why I think we are.
Well, no, because then if we move forward in the timeline of the understanding of the human body, if we move past like 3000 BC or whenever the that theory was at its peak, there aren't currently any biologists or psychologists that would say like a belief or a judgment happens in your knee.
Yeah, I mean, it never happened to me, but I do believe that it's true, because obviously we do like very basic exercise every day just to remove the stress.
I think there may have been a language issue there. Anyway, so I also tried by talking about like depression and ADHD and stuff, and understanding the difference between, and just the silliness of thinking that your quantic energies are off, and that's why you're depressed when we have neurons and neural networks that explain cognition and emotion and so on. No, we don't have all of it yet, but that's how science bloody works. But I mean, sure, all right. If you want to just keep believing that until we've explained, as much about the brain as we have about like evolution or something, then hola, hola.
¿Qué tal? ¿Todo bien?
Todo bien, sí. ¿Qué quieren?
A ver lo que está haciendo. ¿Qué estás inventando?
¿Cómo?
¿Qué estás haciendo, digo?
Una video.
¿Sí?
Sí. Dime, ¿quiere hablar en la video?
Venga, a ver.
Dime, ¿qué es la mente?
¿La mente?
Sí. Venga atrás, amigo.
¿La mente?
Sí, la mente, ¿qué es eso?
Pues no sé, la mente turbias, la mente es turbia, mal pensamiento,
¿Qué?
pensamiento malo,
No, ¿quién? ¿Tú?
o él,
Oh, él, ok.
él mucho.
Él mucho.
Mucho.
Malamente.
Sí, sí,
Ok.
mente
¿Dónde está la mente?
Ahí.
Ok. ¿Y tú estás de acuerdo que está ahí?
No, yo creo que está aquí. Creo que la tiene ahí, la
Sí.
mente.
Cada uno.
Sí.
Hombre, la mente es la pieza más importante del cuerpo.
Sí, es verdad.
Porque si no hay, mira, yo te digo que hace poco tiempo, hace 3 meses, un compañero mío se dio una hostia con la moto contra un muro y se golpeó la cabeza y lo han llevado al hospital y decía el médico que la mente lo tiene muerta y lo han desenchufado y maletas. El cuerpo estaba enchufado con cables y todo, pero la mente estaba muerta.
Es
Así
eso,
que,
es
si
eso.
se muere la mente, y mira, otra cosa, mi padre falleció en un ¿cómo se llama tú?
Cerebral.
De un derrame cerebral.
Sí,
Así
viejo. ¿Un viejo?
No, de 70 años, 60 y algo.
Ok. Sí.
Así que si no hay mente,
¿Y las emociones también están?
todo.
Todo.
Eso como
Vale.
es el ordenador del cuerpo.
Yes, es eso. Y, no, ok, ¿verdad? ¿Crees que la mente está dónde?
En la cabeza, hombre, claro.
Ok, ¿y la alma?
El alma, pues por todo el cuerpo, ¿no?
Ok, ¿la alma?
El alma está en el corazón.
Ok,
Claro.
¿y la alma puede estar el cerebro también?
Claro.
Claro. Ok, muy bien. ¿Cómo te llamas?
A mí me dicen Juanito.
Juanito.
Sí.
Yo Eris.
Yo, José.
José. Ok, gracias.
Buen día.
Buenos días. ¿Y eran de aquí?
No, de Madrid.
De Madrid. Ok.
Venimos a trabajar y ya hemos terminado y venimos a dar una vuelta y te he visto aquí.
Ok.
Solo
Es mejor
entre las
aquí.
rocas. Y
¿Ah?
digo, te hemos visto aquí solito entre las rocas. Digo,
Sí.
a ver qué le pasa a este hombre.
Sí.
Pues nada,
¿Y qué esto
hombre.
qué es? ¿Para qué hace?
Sí,
Ahora lo
entonces
vemos en YouTube.
mi YouTube.
¿Ah, sí? ¿Estás en
Claro.
directo?
No. Pongo después.
Claro.
Ahora.
Hay una cala muy bonita aquí, ¿cómo se llama? Ahora te lo digo. No, seguro que has estado. Que ahí se ve la puesta del sol muy bonito, macho.
No
De
entendí
aquí a media
nada.
hora.
¿Qué?
Una cala donde el sol, cuando se pone, muy
Sí.
bonito todo.
Sí, ok.
Mira, Cala Benirás.
Cala venirás.
¿Ahí lo conoces?
No,
Pues tienes que ir allí.
ok.
Es muy bonito.
Ah, sí, gracias.
Mira, espera.
Ah, gracias, güey.
Mira, mira.
Oh, wow.
Por la noche así.
Ah, sí. Sí, ¿qué?
Venirás.
Venirás. Cala, venirás.
Está al lado.
Sí,
Puerto de San Miguel, más para arriba.
ok.
Cala
Ah,
venirás.
mar
Y
arriba,
tienes
ok.
aparcamiento y todo.
Sí, ok. Estoy en caravana.
Sí.
Caravana.
Sí, caravana. Sí.
Nosotros en camión.
Sí, mi caravana está ahí.
Ajá.
Ok,
¿Tú de
gracias.
dónde eres?
Chicago.
¿De Chicago?
Sí, sí,
Chicago
sí.
Bulls.
Estaba viviendo a París y después, hace 1 año que estaba en la caravana y viajo.
Muy bien.
Sí.
Hala, que te vaya bien.
Juanito.
Suerte.
José,
Encantado.
encantado, mucho gusto, gracias.
Igualmente.
I thought I thought they worked here or something. I don't know what that. I mean, I thought like they were gonna tell me that it was a problem that I was here, and I just wasn't gonna be hearing that. So I was like, "What do you guys want?" You asked me too many questions before telling me why you're talking to me and interrupting my video. Let's go.
We say, okay, we need to feel everything from your feet to your brain to the knees. So obviously, you can probably manage something like this.
Last question then. So if you're doing like a meditation, you're scanning the.
All right, well, let's move on. We put her down, of course, as a no for sort of knowing what she is. She thinks that she's this. She doesn't fucking need neurons or any actual physical structures for interpretive mechanisms. By the way, Sarah, I think you're awesome, and this is this frustration that you're hearing. It's really not towards you, even though it does sound like that. It's really towards the human brain in general, or the knee or whatever. Okay.
Family over there. Basically, I've been asking.
All right, so I asked.
What the mind is, what the brain is. Could you be our camera person real quick? And I'm just going to ask you, and then you point to the soul.
Oh, that's my keyboard.
And you tell us what you like. Is that okay? Okay. All right, so there you go. And the mic is just there. So, okay, perfect. Thank you, thank you. Oops, sorry, I just spit a little bit. Okay, so the question is, where's the soul?
Where's the soul?
Yeah, tell me.
Right here.
Right there?
And it's funny because that was probably non-negotiable for her, but we just saw with Juanito here that I might as well tell you what happened. So there you go. All right, so let's skip ahead to this one. So Juanito, I mean, I don't know why I just went. What I meant was like, yes, baby. He was like, I mean, even Jose, he was like, of course, your mind is in your head, and he told me about a friend of his who I didn't really understand the whole story, but he had his head against something, some kind of a wall or something, and his body was plugged in all these cables and. But none of the fact that his body was more or less functioning sort of didn't matter because his brain wasn't working, and that's all that matters. He's in his brain, and then I thought he was also talking about some dementia or something. But then when I said, was the guy old? He said no, but then he said the guy was 70. I don't know what old is for him. I mean, I guess 70 is not super old, but anyway. So for him. His experiences, he interpreted those experiences pretty damn well. Like, he's like, there's no question here. You are your brain, basically. Now, does he then extrapolate that to having an understanding of it? No, it took me years. And it sometimes I realize things. I'm like, how is it still, I'm still not getting it yet. Anyway, now, I asked him about the soul, which kind of, I mean, he didn't look thrown off, but it sort of threw something off because he goes, okay, that's in your heart. Because, that is where we feel a lot of things. not where we literally feel things, but where the feelings that we have are sort of mapped. And then some things we do feel, right? An increase in heart rate. There are sensors here, but then all still need to be interpreted up here. I mean, pain doesn't even really happen here, does it? Yeah, no, right? So, so he says that the soul is in the heart, and I go, and could the soul be the brain as well? He goes, yeah. Sweet. All right. So then we talk to this family, this Dutch family, and the mom and dad are all like, "Yo, not molecules. I think we're just gonna skip this one." Um, the dad is a little bit more eager to say like we are brains, or the mind is in the brain, but then ultimately they say, "Yo, I mean, because I think he kind of goes with his wife, and it's like I mean, I also think it represents what he believes, but yeah, no, that in response to the question, if I have your connectome, so all of the connections in your brain, all the positions of everything in your brain, the connections, I mean, that really refers to the neurons. But let's imagine it's a 100% full picture of the brain, except for on the quantum level, okay? It's not fucking necessary. You don't need that. But you know about sort of the calcium levels, you know about the potassium levels, you know about all the dendritic and axonic connections and axonal connections and all that. Okay. And plus that, the genes, so the instructions, and maybe the genes have been changed a little bit by experiences, epigenetics, whatever. But anyway, you have the latest genes of the organism. Can you reproduce that organism? And they were like, nah. The kids didn't ask that question, but the kids said that they exist in their minds. And Dan, I cut him off because I was focused on the parents and really didn't hear him until I was editing. But Dan says, yo, where are our brains? Let's see whether I have that moment. I think he says something like that I feel bad about missing. It's happening. So I'm gonna first give it to the parents here, and then you guys will be able to talk. Here we go. Is this?
Wow. Well, if you put it like that, it's really difficult. Soul.
Okay. Wait. Really, for real, last question. What is the soul? As humans, we do use words, and then you ask someone. So that word that you just used, that concept you seem to have thoughts about. What does that word mean? Oh, and I don't think it's. And then we actually will come up with something that sort of sounds to us like a definition pretty quickly. So we'll be stumped at first, and then we'll come up with something. But usually that's pretty unsatisfactory. It just works well enough for the human brain.
Wow. Well, if you put it like that, it's really difficult. But the soul is something higher, untouchable. Something untouchable.
So see here, they didn't respond to the question, right? They gave one property of the soul without at all defining it, right? I mean, oxygen, maybe I could say, is it untouchable? I don't know. Gamma waves, sure, untouchable. Stars, pretty untouchable.
Higher power.
The definition of the soul is that it's untouchable.
Oh, really?
Is it observable?
No.
Is it and then they're okay just saying, this thing that I have thoughts about, you can't like question any of this because the soul is not touchable, observable, and they even say they agree with me that it's not studyable. Understandable?
No.
Not understandable.
Your soul makes.
Yeah. It is. Now that's where Dan starts talking. But actually, we are going to focus on the parents again. No, go on. What, Dan? Understandable?
No.
Is it studyable?
Your soul makes.
Yeah. It is studyable. We can study. Oh, he says the soul makes you different. This is the first time I actually realized what he said. So he gave another property. It's like this. It's like add some uniqueness or something. The soul. Is it observable?
No.
Is it understandable?
No.
Is it studyable?
Your soul makes.
Yeah. It is studyable. We can study the soul.
A person's soul, I think.
Okay. Okay. So with some hesitation, the Yost says, "Well, maybe we can study a person's soul."
Then I think you can study the soul as a whole.
Okay. Can't study the soul as a whole. I don't really know what that means, but I had taken up enough of their time
with this kind of questions. Then you can dive into the soul. I don't know if you can redefine the soul. Yeah. In the end.
So now we got David, the happy hippie who's arrived. Not that sounds so mean, but he really was so proud of believing that he is light, that he is eternal, and so it just matches like a happy sort of hippie thing. And the guy is just he's very charming, it just seems like an awesome guy to spend time with. I don't think we would have a nice time together because I would want to go a little deeper into the science and rationality of things, and he would smile at me with all the answers and like, no. And eventually that smile would go away as I'm like, but for other humans he seems absolutely lovely.
Time you also have a soul, and the soul is what I believe eternal. Yeah, and we'll come back.
Very good. So how many elements do we have? Mind, is that one of the, because I know there's ego and soul. Is mind an element? Is brain an element? Is heart an element?
What I think what is one of the things to do for us here on this planet is to bring the ego and the soul close together.
Okay.
That's
and I don't kind of. I think he too often just not answer my questions and talk about stuff that he's figured out in life, which is great because I'm sure he's figured out a lot of like cool stuff. But that's kind of undermined by the fact that it's based on being an eternal spirit. Just so anyway, it's getting cold, bro. All right, let's move on.
I would say it's more around the heart area because.
All right, so this is a Dutch friend that we met in a parking lot, and he said that he's in the heart and stuff. And this one was so interesting because he sort of picked up what I was putting down, kind of, and wanted to show that he was on board. So we had some, towards the end of the conversation, an interesting exchange about sort of hormones in the mind and stuff. I want to give you guys a nice background. That's all. All right, so I went kind of hard on him actually. Let's listen to this.
It would change perception of how do we live in this world, maybe.
What would?
And
Let's
say it's more around the heart area because what I do believe is there are also brain cells living inside of the heart or around it.
Okay. Did you just say what I do believe is that there are brain cells in the heart or around it? That's just his personal belief or whatever. All right, you watch more. I gotta pee. So the brain cells, are they in the heart?
No, they would be in the brain.
Oh, okay.
It's like a communication going on.
Sure. But then if most of the brain cells are in the brain, wouldn't you exist mostly there?
I think it's more the intuition. The soul maybe become what's telling you the intuition.
Yeah.
And it's going from the heart more than from the brain.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right, before I... So, all right, let's just talk while I'm here. So, I mean, gosh, look at the human brain. I really should try to talk to us people who are with me here, knowing that we're brains. And let's just calmly, without getting frustrated, just observe how they'll just define terms in whatever the way that they like. intuition. And I gotta start asking people to define terms. What is intuition? They'll probably tell me where it is. It's in your heart. We're already wrong, but and it's not a definition. Intuition is your sense of what's right and wrong. You don't have a detector of what's right and wrong. You have something that tells you this is correct or this is incorrect, but that's not like actually based on what is actually right or wrong. And that thing that tells you isn't one thing, and it's certainly not in your heart. Anyway, right, buddy? All right.
Brain, and we try to understand things with our brains, but
and
come more from the heart.
And you asked me what my opinion was. Why'd you use the word opinion? Because scientists have studied this.
Yeah, but it's like a scientist. What you mostly see is what you see in mainstream is also funded or bought or not as well published, maybe in big magazines.
So is it possible that there's an anti-soul exist in the heart conspiracy?
I think it's...
So this is just what I was talking about earlier. About and we'll treat it like an opinion. What's your opinion about where cognitive mechanisms are?
A thing we don't...
Again, Terry, look, I can't say this to everybody. Really, all of you guys were fantastic. And so I do feel a little bit uncomfortable with the attitude, the expressions I'm making in response to the ideas. It's not about you.
Hardly.
And it's really not your fault. Your human brain existing in a time... it's like if you were existing way back when and talking about how illness was caused by demon spirits. Like, okay, look, you're cool, but I am gonna get a little frustrated that idea is so popular and just so okay for the human brain to accept and believe in.
And we now start slowly to understand a little bit more about these.
But to be honest, if neuroscientists and psychologists, if I showed you all the books that I have and all the experiments and that showed how if you change this in the brain, then that changes about the personality, or how in rats they found this chemical that's associated with this thing, and how the heart is actually, if I showed you literature for the heart and it said that that's actually pumps blood to the other regions of your brain, to the other regions of your body, I mean, and that the Egyptians, who thought that the heart was where the soul was and thought the brain was nothing, just that it cooled down the blood that goes to the heart, that actually they were wrong about that, and that actually the brain, which is 3% of your body, but uses 20% of the energy, and it uses that to do something, right? So if your intuition is here in your heart, what the hell is the brain doing? 20% of the energy consumed. If I told you all that stuff
and I just want to make sure I say a lot, not 3%, 3 pounds, 2%.
Showed you experiments, you would
2% and uses 20% of the body. Holy shit. It must be doing some major stuff in there. We know that the hypothalamus is involved with hunger. We know that the motor strip is involved with motor commands. The sensory strip with interpreting senses. We know the cerebellum is mostly for refining motor movement. But then also, gosh, what's it doing? Because those are the things I hear everybody talking about. Organs, muscles. I wonder what all the other billions upon billions of neurons are doing. Because lots of species can do this. Lots of species can go, ah! Or lots of species can regulate their hearts and stomach and stuff. So you can do all that with their tiny little brains and with their just millions of neurons, maybe. I don't really know whether any heart having and motor having and sensory having thing has under 1 billion neurons. I don't really know what the numbers are for other species. And you can do that with just allocating a little bit of energy and glucose to those systems. That doesn't take much, that signal. In fact, I'm wondering whether to actually walk from here to there would take more energy than the command itself. The actual movement of the muscles would probably take more energy. So if that's all this does, it probably doesn't need a whole lot of energy. If you're telling me it's like a whole bunch bigger than other animals, a whole bunch more neurons, a whole bunch more folds, a whole bunch more energy allocated, and it has no additional responsibilities, my soul is a quantic occupation of my otherwise inert corpus, still not want to hear it, right? You would still say, no, but my soul, my spirit is here, right?
It's more like a very cryptic.
That stuff, and I showed you experiments, you would still not want to hear it, right? You would still say, no, but my soul, my spirit is here, right?
It's more like a very critical about these scientists, and I truly do believe that we're only at the beginning.
Every human on Earth only likes scientists when they agree with them. When I say every human, 99.9999%. I mean, it's just the natural way the brain is. A scientist. Christian people, on Christian Instagram, these dumbass podcasters will be like, hey, scientists found this thing and it proves scientifically that blah, 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 blah. And what else did they find? Oh, I don't agree with the other stuff. So now, anybody who believes in a soul or God, their ears perked up when the scientists started and popular science started saying bullshit about quantum mechanics. Scientists are finally starting to discover this soul thing I've been feeling.
Understanding,
that's what and it's not even okay. Come on, let's move on.
Everything working.
Yeah.
And it would change perception of how do we live in this world, maybe.
What would?
And
like Egmont, both of these guys, and sort of like David, the Dutch guy. So all three of them are hoping that sort of the world. Oh, it's raining over there. Okay, we gotta go inside. Are saying that the world would change if we understood these new ideas about the soul. Those ideas aren't new, bro. And I'm literally saying, actually, the opposite. That the world would change if we stopped with this soul nonsense and had some understanding of what we were and how we function. All right, let's go inside. By the way, how do you guess most iPhone users unlock their phones to open the camera and complain that they can't get to it quick enough? So not only are we not equipped mentally for the kind of ideas we take for granted, to understand them, to evaluate them, to do something with them. Not only that, but another example is technology that we have. People will just keep buying the new iPhone. It's some of the most basic. I can't even feel ashamed about not knowing a bunch of super advanced features, if that exists with Apple, personalizable stuff like that or whatever. But no, there are a lot of settings actually I don't know about. And yet I'm, when you talk to me about an iPhone and you have a problem with your iPhone, I'm basically the genius bar. Not actually, because like I said, there's stuff I'm not familiar with. But then I would go to the genius bar and anyway, all right. So I am so tired. I think it's because of spending so much time with another human being, having that person in my mental sphere. Um, this is the first time we kind of separated for a little bit. I'm supposed to join him tomorrow. I say all that just to please be okay with my exhaustion. I've been putting off this video, so I have to do it now. Okay, enough said. Let's get into it. All right, so we were looking at this before. Oh shit! Sorry, one sec. New window. No, not what I want. I see. Now, I know you're gonna give me trouble if I have the same tab group open, but what if I have different things open in it? Great. Okay. Now, let's go to the questions. All right, mind be brain, naive realism, cognitive biases, of course. Emotional. No, don't do that because you think I just turned it on. No. The blue light was definitely engaging and stuff. I hit the connect button to help it out. All right. Cardiologist. So emotional problems. Cardiologist. And they'll say something like, oh, no, cardiologist is for one aspect of the heart. They're not for. They get paid so much to study and learn the organ that apparently produces your feelings and all that, but they can't help you. They don't prescribe Prozac. They don't know about serotonin. I don't understand what's going on. Yes. Are you molecules? No, of course. Everything else in this world is. Anyway. And then the other thing I see here, it's mostly erased, because Neo kept rubbing up against the whiteboard, but we have explain thoughts. And the idea is how, might you explain? Oh, sorry. How might you explain your shit? What did I say? Neo, it's drizzling. You want to come in? Neo, you want to come inside? All right, up there. Yeah. Yeah, go on. Basically, any self-aware person, if you know what you are, well, if you know what you are, if you know that you're a human body, well, we know where human bodies come from. We know what forged them. That's interesting. So if someone believes that they were created by a god in his image, then the question I'm trying to ask here, the reasonable answer would be, yo, if I want to know about myself, look at the Bible. I see, first of all, okay, came from dirt. So that means this about my constitution. Second of all, I was made in the image of God. So you look at some of the behaviors and thoughts of God, and I'm going to have similar ones with just slightly fewer powers. And I'm going to calculate how the absence of those powers will affect, the facsimile or the not quite facsimile that I am of our Lord and Creator. Okay, but let's being serious now. If you know that bodies came from the what do you I can call it? The geysers? No, the steam baths. I really am tired. Um, Wherever life came from, that's not my thing. Okay, and also it really doesn't matter where other forms of life came from. Kind of, if we're talking about what I am, I'm very different from the algae. Very different from what's that thing called? Little critter that can live. Tardigrade. And it kind of was, I swear to God, it wasn't fully here. I wouldn't have been able to say it if I hadn't seen it, but it got really close. Okay, anyway, tardigrades. And I'm trying to talk about. Where did life come from again? Or where's the hot. You know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say. I just can't. I'm sorry. This is ADHD and OCD. I know, actually, this is pretty normal. Life came from. Oops. Hypothermal vent near a deep sea hypothermal vents. Recently, some scientists have narrowed on the hypothesis that life originated. So maybe it's that. Whatever. The point is, I almost wish I hadn't been recording. The point is that life. We know about evolution. That's where I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to get to. So we know that we're molecules. We know that we are cells, and proteins are made from those molecules, constructed based on information from genetics, and those genes are what they are after millions of years of changes in response to the environment. So if we're alive now, then that's because, sorry, that's kind of a French thing to say, if like that. The fact that we're alive now indicates that our genetics were pretty damn well adapted to the various environments that we've encountered, and then particularly the recent ones. Maybe we wouldn't have been adapted to, 10 million years ago, even a million years ago. I don't know. But in any case, so we know that's where those genes come from. We know those genes then, through the proteins and stuff, create the neural networks. And we know that those neural networks define our mental activity. Pretty complete picture. And I know it's hard for you when you don't have answers, so you like to invent them. But luckily, a lot of the gaps have been filled. So you can safely come over to understanding. You don't have to stay with your gods and souls. We do have enough understanding of the world. For if you have questions, and those questions are going to torture you, and you've been seeking refuge in some silly answers that had rhyme but no reason, okay, that's okay. Come here. The explanations won't have as much rhyme, but if you stick with it, and if you listen, here's what genes are, here's what cells are, here's what evolution was, here's who Darwin was, here's what natural selection was, here's who Kahneman is, blah, 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 blah. So it's a good time, I know you wanted, not you, I know your cousins and stuff they're waiting for people like you and I to go out there, be okay not understanding, dig, listen to what the other people are saying, check the waters for them. And then once the waters are kind of solid, you know, we don't want the boat rocking. Once the water is pretty solid, pretty stable, got a fairly good understanding of something, then yeah, the rest of your, you know, our other cousins can come and join us now. You know, 200 years ago it was too hard. Oh yeah, then where did humans come from? Obviously they came from a guy. Just look around you. Oh, you know, thousands of years ago. Oh yeah, then what's rain then? If it's not angels taking a leak, what is it then? But now we can answer those questions for them. And within the last, holy shit, beginning of the 21st century, we're now being able to answer for the very most essential questions of the self. Not just the body, not just the species origins, but what is going on in there. What I am, and I am in here. I am in here. Never actually been outside of here. It's weird. When I think of myself, I see this face, or maybe at different ages, but what I don't see, and have never seen, is the real me. I have literally never seen me. That's wild. I'm just locked away operating this thing. Alright, so, right, sorry. The question is then, like, how do you, like, if you want to understand a thing, one way to understand it is to look at sort of how it was made, what it was made for, and how it functions. So the obvious answer, so if you want to understand yourself, all right, well, so here, let's say this. Step one, right, is you have to understand the brain in general. Then on that foundation, you can try to understand you as a specific brain. And because you'll know like what the options are, what for these peculiarities. Once you got a feeling of the brain, oh, it works like this. So I'm one of those brains that's like this. Oh, I'm one of those brains that tends that I have this it that's stronger, blah blah blah. Okay. So if you wanted to understand the brain, god damn it. Okay. If you want to understand the no if you want to understand the brain in general, what would you do for that? Well, to understand a thing, to understand a thing, it'd be useful. It'd be useful to understand how it was made, what purpose it served, or like what it was good at. You can also phrase it that way. That's probably better. And oh, my mic's right next to the computer, the keyboard. Sorry. And what was the other thing? How it works. I don't know. Let's say it's material. It's composition. It's functional composition. No, but we want to put it in just how it works. Okay? So if you want to understand a brain, and if for a moment we accept those things, and we'll try to, let's think of an example. I want to understand this computer. Yeah, it's good to like understand like what are the pieces in there. So how it was made, like what pieces were put together. And then the actual like programming of it as well. How it's such that I press that and has that response could be good if I really want to understand the computer. Another thing would be, yeah, the intention of the creator is obviously should be informative, because then maybe from there you can guess certain features it might have. And then if you doesn't have a creator, if it just happened, like a rock. Oh, so there's not a reason that that rock has that shape. It didn't, or what it was good for. What did I say? All of that's really hard to attribute to a rock. Yeah, we don't need the purpose thing, I guess. So if it was a tree or a rock, you'd want to understand what are its pieces, how did those pieces come together, and what do those pieces do? Got it. Okay, so to understand a thing, it'd be useful to understand what its pieces are, how they fit together, and what they do. That's probably better. So if we're going to do that for the brain, you need to look at pieces, biochemistry. Okay, that's the range from chemistry to biology. Don't really need that much physics. You could do certain things just like, all right, cool, that happens. And you don't need to. What we're doing is being able to have an understanding of psychology. So we're looking at the pieces, so the neurons and the networks and all that, action potential, what that means. Then for the togetherness, more biochem and some evolution, and how you interpret that, how they came together. So how they fit together, you're going to be looking at synapses and stuff like that. And can't believe you're watching this. And but also you are not wrong too. So togetherness, so how it fits together, and then what it does, function. Now you're gonna need to get some more biochem, I guess, and some psychology, and some evolution. There you go, something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can let me know what you think. In any case, these are not, of course. Oh, sorry. Oh, and then understand the peculiarities of yours. Now, you need the things that happened beyond all this, after all this. So you're gonna need some childhood. You're gonna need some nutritional biochem. Examples set by others, blah 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 blah, something like that. Okay. So you know what? If I'm being generous, then people tend to, if I'm being super, super generous, unfairly generous, then we can say that response that I keep getting annoyed by, where everybody's like, oh yeah, I gotta like look at like my parents, basically. This body just came out, and then their parents just like put stuff into the skull. Or just injected soul stuff. I don't even know. It doesn't even. So so this is going to help you a great deal. So I just want basically a super easy way to distinguish a pretty damn, like almost my level of self-awareness. Of course, I don't know how to detect self-awareness higher than mine, right? I have no idea how many times I've met people that understood what they were in a more real way, or even better than I do, or who applied it, I mean, That's really what I meant. Who applied it more consistently? Because, like I said earlier, I still discover things. Wait a minute, if I'm a bunch of mechanisms, then Planck is true. And I've been. One thing I was thinking of is sometimes I wonder, and maybe this is the thing that a lot of men do, is I think about if my child's life was on the line, and let's say I had to stand. Let's say I had to stand. Let's just say I had to stand. And as soon as I stop standing, my child dies. How long could I stand? And it's horrifying to imagine after any amount of time, even 10 years of just standing, it's horrible to imagine that at some point, like, I would give up. And that just doesn't make sense. And when we think of ourselves as souls, it doesn't make sense. Because, like, it doesn't matter. It's mind over body, baby. It doesn't matter how tired your muscles are. It doesn't matter what your mechanisms are doing. If you care about your child, you will be standing there forever. Or maybe something easier, something not easier, but something easier to imagine. Like I have to just keep picking up a dumbbell. And let's say it's kind of light. So like every one, I could maybe do one more. Maybe one more. You know? But it was just the other day that I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm literally just molecules. I'm just a biological thing. So, yeah, humans are capable of doing incredible feats when they're motivated. So when certain its are slapped, those its go and engage the body in ways that it isn't typically engaged, I guess. So I'd be able to stand a lot longer than if you said you're gonna pay me $100,000. The reality is that I'm not a soul that can just have mastery of this body. It's possible that at some point I would be standing there and it's unthinkable that I would at some point that my mechanisms would change such that I would go. But I'm wondering whether it's possible that then the mechanism at some point would just go, it's not that big of a deal. You can have another kid. Well, before that, obviously, I would be like, what if you just kill me? If you just kill me, or if you like torture me for a week, do your absolute worst, then can I sit down and the kid lives? I don't know. All right, so if you want to understand, the question is, how quickly do they mention evolution when talking about what made them there and a means by which they could understand themselves? Like if I ask someone, hey, tell me about your appendix. You have an appendix, right? Why do you have that? Immediately, anybody who's knows anything about evolution, they're going to talk about it's a vestigial organ, that it serves some purpose. I don't remember what the purpose was, but maybe they will. And they'll tell me it serves some purpose and it's just still in our genetic code, even though it's not really used or at all. But then if I ask you, and why do you have this belief pattern? How quickly could I get them to think about evolution again?
Area because
something like brain was nothing, just that it cooled down the blood that goes to the heart.
Critical about these scientists, and I truly do believe that we're only at the beginning at a deeper understanding in how
that's what I thought. Yeah,
everything works.
Yeah,
and it would change perception of how do we live in this world, maybe.
What would?
And
continuing to believe that we exist in our hearts probably wouldn't change anything, because most people have believed that and have believed that for thousands of years. But thinking that we might be brain I was like, you just think about that a second. I'm gonna keep going.
that would fundamentally change our perception of self. Yeah.
And I think it's also everything is more like really an energy.
Yeah, of course.
And that influences everything.
Yeah. And so you would never want to be reduced to just neurons talking to each other. You are more of a magical spirit, soul, or energy, right?
I think we all, in that sense, are light beings.
Yeah, light beings. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
So my mistake. It wasn't the other Dutch guy, David, who said light beams. It was this Dutch guy, Terry.
Very cool. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, you're welcome.
So then I said something like, but what are...
So I started to walk away, and he asked me something, and we got to talking.
What is this? Oh, I said these human social instincts. Where do they exist?
All right, we have so much to talk about. We can't make this 4 hours long. So you can listen to that to see, because he just started talking about like hormones and stuff. And... All right, whatever. Okay, next. Who is up? So we've done this. All right, let's go.
And you've got some of the nice surroundings. Yep. Awesome.
Brain was?
Yeah.
I think it's like the same thing. The only thing that the brain is like the physical thing, and the mind is like inside the brain.
Okay.
So they're like works.
Do y'all hear yourselves? I mean, I've said this before as well. I use the software. By the way, that's what I'm really excited about getting to. Because one guy, we'll get to it. But can't we laugh at ourselves for ever having said things like that? That the mind is this immaterial thing. I've never actually understood that. Never actually. I mean, since I was 15, I've been... But aren't we like molecules? I've actually never understood the immaterial thing. And I don't know what software is, and that's what we're going to look at. We're going to try to understand that, because I do have an idea of how software might be impossible for... Well, we'll see. Anyway. But it's this immaterial thing that sits in the brain. Can't we just Occam's razor that and just say it's a physical brain? Is that so bad? Is that so hard?
Together for us like to feel, to think, and to...
Because what we don't feel, we don't think if there isn't this immaterial thing. All of the feeling and thinking can be explained by the physical events.
The thinking of life.
Awesome. And so.
And when I say that, okay, the experiencing, you might not feel like there's a satisfying, but literally every thought, every feeling, go, oh, okay, so that's how it goes.
So it's this immaterial, non-physical thing that occupies sort of the same space as the brain, and they work together.
I guess, yeah.
I want to ask something, whether you think something is possible.
Okay.
Is it possible that before we discovered the brain, we had an experience of mind? So we came up with this word, mind, and we were like, what is the mind? Maybe it's here, maybe it's blah, blah, blah. And then we discovered the role of the brain, and we realized they were the same thing.
Yeah, it could be.
Woo! Yeah, cheers to you, Elaine.
Our past, like...
Our ancestors?
Ancestors, yeah. Like, maybe they thought, like, okay, so the brain does this, so maybe this is where the mind is. Like, they tried, like, to connect everything.
Yeah.
So, and that has been, like, going on through the years. And
yeah, well, we've only really been thinking... Oh, my gosh, I didn't even see it. We've only really been...
I don't know why Buddy Anthony couldn't show over there. It was beautiful.
So it's a very recent thing. Okay, all right. Last question. Right.
Sorry, I talked over me.
We've only really been thinking that the brain might be the mind for like the last 200 years. So it's a very recent thing.
By the way I say that, I am not a science historian. I just Finus Gate. Anyway, it's not my thing, so correct me if I have no idea in what parts of the zeitgeist the idea that mind be brain has existed, or when.
All right. Last question. All right. Do you know what a cognitive bias is?
Cognitive bias?
Yeah. Sometimes the mind/brain makes mistakes, And there are some really predictable ways that we often see the mind make the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah.
Sometimes these are called cognitive biases. Have you heard of those?
I think I learned that in like philosophy.
Okay.
Biology, something.
And I think maybe I'm not even tired. I think these interviews are depressing me. Maybe you can tell by how happy I get when someone says something real.
Of course, here.
Oh yeah, but yeah, spiritually you say no.
I don't know.
What?
Tell me more. So.
Yeah, spiritually.
It,
Where is the mind?
La mente, ¿dónde está?
Yes, yeah. Here, of course.
Of course, here.
Oh yeah, but yeah, spiritually you say no.
I don't know.
What?
Tell me more. So. No. Hold on. I know it feels like a lot of pressure, but I love what you're saying. It's interesting. So you're saying that there is a mind that is here.
Yes.
But there's another kind of spiritual mind that might not be?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, you can fast forward. I just have something to say. It is, I do hate politeness. And I hate what we've become as a species. What's happened to communication. Like, I'm watching this, and I'm looking at her face, and the way that I am, I don't really see that, like, she doesn't want to do this. But I've had enough experiences to recognize, or to at least have some association that maybe isn't reliable. I don't know, but anyway, I've got mechanisms telling me her body language and face right here. There's a whole bunch going on underneath, or not necessarily a whole bunch, but there's a certain discomfort, a certain blah blah things that she's just not expressing. And I mean, I perceived. Yes, I perceived it here, but not like a full "I don't want to be here" thing, because then obviously I would leave the person. I just thought she needed a little encouragement.
So you're saying that there is a mind that is here. Love what you're saying. So.
Yeah, spiritually you say no.
I don't know.
What?
Tell me more. So.
And what bothers me is because I've seen relationships with people, normal people, go badly, and then before you know it, there I was like trying to put her down or something by asking her these questions, and it's like, but you didn't say you didn't like it. You didn't say that. And the number of people who have fucking tell I love philosophy, love talking about deep things, blah blah blah. Don't think it's nearly as true as I think they believe it maybe when they first meet me. Because they don't realize how much it'll be. They think it's just gonna be a comment here or there that makes it go, But I'm gonna be asking you questions. I'm gonna be transmitting things to you. I'm gonna be trying to get things from you. I'm trying to actually learn. And the more you tell me you love that shit, the less I'm going to notice that you feel attacked. And the other day, I was thinking about how much better the world would be if there was like a little bit of like physical violence. There is violence. But I mean like between people on a daily basis. It would also just be so much more obvious who the bad guys are, right? People like think I'm upset sometimes when I'm not, or think I'm upset about something, or when I'm actually upset about something slightly else, not really the person. Or, I'll find out a long time later that someone was upset with me, or someone will think that someone else is trying to come after them and doesn't like them, and they have literally never done anything to them. And because we're not allowed to do anything, everything has to be implied. And so then we think that everything, we see implications where there aren't any, because as Michael Sherman said, better to see a pattern where there isn't one than to not see one where there is. I wish I could be like, if someone's like, oh my gosh, I have this coworker, they're such an asshole to me all the time. And I'm like, oh yeah, Did they like insult you? Did they call you a little bitch? Did they uh smack you? Did they puncture your tire? Like, what's going on? Oh, no, no, no. But just like the way that, like, first of all, every time they come into the office, they'll like look at me and like say, oh, did you get some sleep? Like, you look tired. Like, they're trying to like insult me and call me ugly. Oh, so you don't actually know. It could just be that they're genuinely concerned. No, 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 no. You didn't see the way that they said it. It'd just be so much fucking easier. And it would be easier because there are people I've disliked. There are people I have wished ill. So I could just give them a little smack, let that be known, let that be on their record. Or if I were allowed to just be like, I don't like you. And then it's not like a huge thing. Based on what I've seen, I don't like you. And I just want to let you know that that's where we are. If that matters to you, then, I mean, we're still going to run into each other and I'll keep an open mind and you can ask me to keep an open mind, or you can tell me that you also don't like me and that could be useful information, blah, blah, blah. But what happens? Why do people have to imagine and invent all the threats everywhere? It's because you never can see the threats anyway, really. And I just wish the threats were more visible so we can realize there aren't that many fucking monsters out there. And that's what it is. It's like there are a few sociopaths, a couple monsters out there, but everybody's wearing a mask. So you just have to be assume that under everyone is a monster unless you know otherwise. And it's so exhausting. So exhausting. And I'll call someone an idiot. And my dad got so upset with me, and these two guys are called idiots. One time, this guy's walking his dog. Neo runs over to his dog. He grabs the leash of his dog and like swings his dog in the air. The dog was about half the size of Neo, and it's on a car like this. And he's like swinging it to get it out of Neo's way. Neo, of course, now sees a toy. Before, he was extremely eager to go talk to another dog and smell them and stuff, maybe dominate, but we'd see. But now, oh, it's a toy. And so he doesn't like try to grab it, but he's like following it around as it's swinging around the owner. Owner screaming. And I'm just like, you idiot. Like, I'm here. If there was going to be an issue, unless I'm one of those very rare sociopaths, and also I had no concern for the law, you would see something in my face or my behavior that there might be a problem. There was going to be no problem. So you started swinging your dog like, well, I'm exaggerating a little bit. He was like, what? I called him an idiot. He got real mad. And then the other day I was like backing up so I could get to a parking space, and the car behind me is not backing up, just keeps honking at me. So then finally, so I just keep backing up. Eventually, he starts backing up a little bit and moving to my space. I go, a little stupid, huh? He goes, you like calling people stupid, huh? Because he said, why'd you call me stupid? So I explained to him why I called him stupid. Because I was backing up. I had nowhere to go. He's like, but I want to get into this other parking space. I was like, yeah, so you let me back up, you let me get into my parking space, and then you go into that one. But then he said, you like calling people stupid, huh? I was like, okay, no, I don't like calling people stupid. All right, nah, you're right. But he was mad. But I do think that I've been called names. And I know that there have been times that's gotten me mad because it's like, you're not allowed to call me names. But that's stupid! Shouldn't be too horribly judged. Maybe with the guy with the car thing, I didn't need to say, oh, a little stupid, huh? The dog thing, I stand by it. And then we can talk about it afterwards. I talked with the dog guy about it. Then he was getting up in my face, so then my dad like got in between us. Well, not my dad. My dad had a broom. He just held it out between us. So the other guy's friend sees my dad holding the broom. Can't see that my dad is all gray. So then later when I go over and talk to the guy's friends, be like, yo, sorry I called your friend an idiot earlier. The friend says, I was about to mess up you and your buddy with the stick. You're gonna mess up my 75-year-old dad? Jeez. Alright. Fuck that, because me and my dad are crazy. Me and my dad have already been in a fight together. Bunch of drug dealers. Y'all don't know this story. It's on YouTube. Maybe in the description I'll put the video because it was all recorded. We're volunteering, passing out meals to refugees. Dude comes over, living in this building, and he's like, "Yo, stop giving them food." And I was like, "Yo, go talk to City Hall if you don't want these people here. Tell them to take better care of them." He was like, "Hey, come over here, Maxime." I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you guys." Well, I don't know. It was in French. I'm gonna talk to you guys differently now. I said, "Oh yeah." I gave my sister or my dad my glasses. "Oh yeah, what's up?" Dude comes over. Dude asks, "What do these guys want?" The guy says they want to fight. I said, "I want to fight?" "No, I don't." What a great. My dad, the guy kicked my dad in the balls, spat at him. And that's when it really, because we were just going like this at first. Guy was going like that. I had him with a t-shirt. And then it popped off when he kicked my dad in the balls. And then they went and got sticks. And they came back. And they got me clean in the back of the head one time with this like little thin stick. But it was a little bit of shock. Another dude has a whiskey bottle. Took a few swings at me. I know he hit me at least once. Boom! Boom! And he'd switch. Boom! And then eventually I got the stick. One of the sticks. And then they calmed down. My dad had to go to the hospital, had to get stitches. Oh yeah, we're hard, bruh. We are hard. My dad knows damn well he loves it. I don't know why he acts like he isn't a warrior. No, hold on. I know it feels like a lot of pressure, but I love what you're saying. It's interesting. So you're saying that there is a mind that is here.
Yes.
But there's another kind of spiritual mind. I'm trying to be. I know my face looks whatever. That might not be here.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more? Okay, so the soul. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah.
The soul?
Yeah.
Where's the soul? Anyway, I should thank everybody, by the way, when I do these reviews. So thank you for participating. It is awesome. If I didn't agree with your response and you're curious about psychology and the brain and stuff, I'm absolutely happy to respond to any questions and also to entertain your ideas. But can I entertain 1,000 people going, "Yeah, but I think we're magical"? I mean, no, I've got other shit to do. So, but if it's an idea I haven't heard.
Maybe in everything that you do.
Okay. What is the soul? Okay.
All around.
What about this?
All around.
I think she thought I was saying, "Where's the soul?" I guess. Have I not already reviewed this one? Because that sounds so familiar saying that. Okay. What is the soul? Okay.
All around.
What about this?
All around.
Yeah. I mean, really, we use words. Feel like your soul is in what you do. What does that actually mean, though? We can see evidence of what your soul is and what you do because it came from your soul. Okay, sure. Can we just be real and replace the word soul with brain? Because we already said the brain's a physical thing, sending out the motor commands and stuff. Anyway.
Maybe in everything that you do.
Okay. What is the soul? Okay.
All around.
What about this?
All around.
Yeah. Or maybe she's saying everything is the soul. I don't know. Alcohol and drugs, do they have an effect on you? If you drink alcohol or if you take drugs or something, does that have an effect on you? Does that change your behavior or your thinking?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Does it change your feelings?
Yes.
Yeah? So, God, I feel like such an anthropologist just from another time.
And just what, maybe your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, the way your timing, the way that you relate to other people. Okay. Yeah. And so it does that how?
You become more maybe social.
No, now what does it do? How does it do it?
But, like biochemically, does it change your soul? Does it change your mind?
And it's not that I'm upset that they don't have my. You know what? If you think that at this point, my little comment now is not going to make a difference.
Change your brain? Does it change your heart? Does it change your gut? Does it change your stomach?
But what am I bothered about? I'm bothered about their sense that they have the answers. Like, they can't define these words, but I mean, anybody would be bothered. Wouldn't anybody be bothered by not knowing what they are? So, of course, they think they have answers to that question. And that's what bothers me. And then you ask, like, one question, it's like, oh, you don't actually have answers. And then the other thing is, well, I guess it's just so it's the confidence in the answers they don't have, and then the lack of, like, need, and also the ignorance that they don't have answers, I guess. I don't know.
Change your foot.
Oh, that was cute. Of me.
The stomach.
But not
Of course,
in my
stomach.
case.
Biochemically, does it change your soul? Does it change your mind? Does it change your brain? Does it change your heart? Does it change your gut? Does it change your stomach? Does it change your foot?
Maybe the stomach, yes.
The stomach?
But not in my case. It's not.
I understood after that she wasn't talking about the stomach as like a brain, but as just that it can make you sick.
An important thing because I feel more or less the same person that I am. I have the same feelings.
Whether or not you feel more like, okay, let's just assume that you can drink 7 shots of vodka and you're more or less the same you. But isn't there a difference? Otherwise, you're straight up lying to me. But even if you feel more or less like yourself, maybe if you feel like certain things are the same. First of all, I don't even know whether we can trust that. But yeah, it doesn't completely rewire your entire brain or just start activating regions that have never run before. So yeah, you should be basically the same person, but there's a lot about you that changes in these substances, whether that's your perception, whether that's your whatever. Don't fucking tell me alcohol doesn't change you. It doesn't have to be fundamentally, but if there's any change, then let's talk about that.
Drink alcohol.
So for you, alcohol doesn't have an effect on you?
It has an effect on me, but not an important change. It's
so what? Sorry.
Maybe I become more happy or happier.
Yeah.
Maybe the soul, but I think not.
Where's I swear there's different types of people, different types of brain. There are some brains that could be saying this thing, and then at some point, don't they have to just go like, wait a minute. I'm not actually answering any of these questions, and you seem to maybe have some more information, better understanding. Tell me what's going on.
Not change your mind.
Maybe it changes your soul, but not your mind? Okay. Research
it depends the feelings that you have in the moment. Yeah. If you're happy, maybe the alcohol becomes happier.
What is happiness? Where's that? Is that in your soul?
A feeling that feels you, that makes feel you comfortable with yourself.
Yeah. And where is happiness? Could you point to it?
No. Maybe
that's impossible to do?
Well, no. When you feel happy, you feel peaceful, and your heart is full.
There are humans that hear it's just not true. I know I fail to answer questions and don't realize it, but sometimes it just seems like there's people at one end of the spectrum and people closer to the other. Sorry, I am sounding really mean now, or even being mean, but I don't know. Is it mean to say that you're not among the most intelligent person I talked to based on this conversation alone? I'm not sure that's mean. I think it might be your own arrogance that makes that mean. I am not perfect. I am not understanding the questions, the things that you're talking about that you've been thinking about for the last 20 years, I'm not immediately understanding all of that and not even realizing that's what you're accusing me of. Yes, but that's okay also. It makes me feel lonely sometimes, but it's not doesn't actually make you less of a person. It
Into the rats.
makes you the person that you are. That's okay. You have other qualities. Jesus.
Brain in order to change all of those things. So by changing its brain, then are we changing its soul? Is the or
No, continue.
no, that's the question. Are we changing by chemically changing its brain?
All right, we shouldn't. She was nice enough to stay at this interview, and she's a silly human who wouldn't probably be able to handle me going too hard in our responses. So let's let up.
Feelings and so on, right? Like serotonin, you know what serotonin is, and I'm wondering how that.
If I have the answer, what do you think?
This is nice.
I think it's a deep question. I don't know if I have the answer.
Here's the thing, I do though, and I'm standing in front of you. And there have been people who asked me, and what do you think? The answer is available. The answer is out there. Whether or not you're going to accept it, I don't know. And it's really not that deep of a question. It's actually what am I is kind of the most fundamental thing in the world. How do I function is kind of the most fundamental thing in the world.
Maybe today I can explain.
Sure,
Hey,
sure.
here's what I'm gonna do. We can wrap it up now. Do you want to add anything?
No.
Yes, you do.
I just think that let's get over here. These kind of questions are really philosophical, you know.
No.
And
you guys, philosopher.
I mean,
Nobody laughed.
nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I think that once you change the brain, of course, you are changing a little bit the soul.
Okay.
He wanted to go farther with that, I think. And again, maybe I just give more credit to men than women. But yeah, I know there's another point where it's like, yeah.
No, because I think that
Your palace, you know, is your soul. Is like
Yeah, he's saying the brain.
Your palace,
The brain is the soul. It's your palace.
you know.
Yeah, but you don't think so because the soul, the self is more magical. You moved here.
No,
oh,
we're
okay.
from here.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry for saying grazie.
No worries. Good job. I'm glad to see
Oh, this timestamp's not good.
He said hard.
Okay, and then
Goes.
Dad, what he thinks?
Girls. No.
Okay.
But I'm like, I think like we all think it's around somewhere here.
That's very true. I
Yeah.
interviewed over 50 people, and everybody thinks that it's here.
Yeah.
This is where we feel a lot of our feelings. But what about up here?
Brain.
Yeah. Could that be the soul?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's where a lot of energy things happen, no?
Yeah.
So maybe.
And thoughts and feelings and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Can you ask your dad what he thinks?
Hongros que está el ánimo.
And they were speaking Catalan. I thought they were speaking Italian. Alright, whatever. Not gonna fix that now. Okay, so, yeah. We believe we're this immaterial energy thing, yada yada yada, even though every explanation of behavior and thought always is on a macro scale and necessitates neuronal interaction. Then we think we're so incredibly special that neuronal interaction, that doesn't suffice. It has to be the most magical of things, quantum mechanics at the cellular level. So then, like logically, right? If you believed that your consciousness was not neuronal, then you could put your consciousness into this table, right? This table has, my dad clarified this for me, like, you know, and the basis of everything is quantum. So this table, you could look at its quantum level, at the quantum states that are composing it or whatever, that describe its pieces, whatever, okay? So maybe what I can do is just go zzz. wake up those quantum features, and then this table can, without eyes, without an amygdala, without any neurons, without any sensory nerves, without any motor nerves, without any sensory, I mean, not just physical sense, but whatever, any of that, it could exist, be a table, without any of the neurons to which we've attributed sense of self, thought, the passing of time, not any of those things, just whatever the fuck this table is made out of. You go, zzz, activate quantum consciousness. Shouldn't that be possible? I'm honestly fucking exhausted.
All right, what's your name?
Claudia.
Claudia? No.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Claudia. Okay.
Luciana.
Lucy.
I wasn't flirting. I mean, I would have loved to flirt with them, but I'm more business me. And also, I'm trying to find Sonia. I just thought, because of the way they say their D's, sometimes it can sound like a quick R, right? Claudia, Claudia, Claudia.
Okay, I'm Eris.
Nice to meet you.
So you're from El Salvador?
Yeah.
And you live in Spain?
Yeah.
And you're from, and what is the mind?
Oof.
You can also pass and go back to any question you'll have.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll refuse your pass, but
Okay.
I hate
the
my
mind
smile.
For me is like the inner conscious. I don't know.
sure.
Yeah, I guess it's what controls the body.
Oh, I'm hearing slightly different things. So
I love when that happens. It hasn't happened a lot in my interviews where I interview, because I don't usually interview two people, but humans love being like, yeah. It's like, someone will say X, then someone else will be like, yeah, it's Y.
can you develop more on that?
Yeah, I feel it's basically where you process the information, so where you make the decision, so basically where you control everything.
I'm hearing something. I mean, I'm feeling like you're saying that you are a mind.
Yeah, so are you asking if we have a mind or if we are a mind?
Great question. I want to know your answer.
Well, I feel like sometimes in life you can feel like it's both. I don't know, sometimes you feel like you're the mind, but then sometimes it feels like you just have it.
And what is that machine that's feeling that, that's having that impression?
Yeah, I don't know. The body, I guess, just the vessel that carries the soul.
The soul? Okay,
Yeah.
so we got a mind, maybe, or we are a mind, maybe. But maybe the mind and the soul are the same thing?
No, they're not.
Oh, they're
They're
definitely
definitely
not.
not.
No way.
I feel like the mind is what allows the soul to express in this physical world.
Ah, I see. So now let's throw in the brain. What's the brain's role
It's
in
just
this?
the physical vessel.
So the brain and the mind are the same thing. Because you said the mind is the
Yeah.
physical vessel for the soul, or the physical, what makes it
like
physically
what makes
Anyway, thank you. They were awesome. Thank you. Again, my frustrations with humans, not with the particular humans. Does that sound like meaningless?
Okay. Well, then.
Platitudes to you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Cool. So where are you from?
From Belgium.
Belgium. And what's your name?
Mirko.
Mirko. Yeah? Or
Mirko with an
Mir-
R.
Okay. But you were a little bit curious about my question.
Yes.
And so what we sort of landed on was, where in your body is your soul?
I think it's in between the ears.
Okay, so it's in your skull.
Yeah.
Are the brain and soul the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Do you know what a cognitive bias is? A cognitive bias?
No.
You speak Flemish, not French.
French, Flemish, yes.
So, if you know that you're a brain, take responsibility, Mirko. Go. I hope you've Googled by now cognitive biases.
Définitif, non? C'est bien.
No, it's different.
Okay, so basically
Next. Here's a sensible man with a good head on his shoulders and knows what's in it. Knows, you know what I'm trying to say.
Sí, okay. Entonces no hay.
He said, I said, where's your soul? He said, it's here. And I was like, all right, cool. So at least, and I go, it's not over there. Over there also.
No ama, alma. Tu alma.
Because I thought it was Alma. So I kept saying Alma. But then she, gosh.
Y mismo. Sí, ok.
So beautiful, aren't they?
Okay, entonces no hay. Allá también.
He says, there also, my soul.
Allá también.
Look at Fred looking at his soul. Edge is looking at the drone, but.
Bien. ¿Cómo?
Which is very funny they said that. Remember that I just said that. He's not looking at the soul, he's looking at the drone. Soul drone, remember that.
Oh, explícame, porfa. Está en todos lados. Okay.
All around.
Tu alma.
Yeah, he said they are all around. So that other woman, she might have been saying, responding to the question, what is the soul? It's everything around. So then I'm like, okay, what's all around? Like the universal God soul, or as a your soul?
Mi alma. Y la mía también.
I was like, what about my soul? Is it over there?
La tuya también. Okay.
I was like, yeah, yours too.
¿Qué piensa?
Sí, yo creo que está.
It's like this. Now that they had taken off their tops. What a human piece of shit brain.
Creo que sí, que también, vamos, las almas tienen que estar en todos los lados conectados.
I understood a little bit there, but not when I asked him the question.
Porfa, más despacio, ¿eh?
I was like, slow down, bro.
Los almas tienen que estar conectados en todas las zonas a donde tú vayas.
So it's like, I don't know exactly what he said. You can tell us. And just definitely please tell me if I mistranslate anything. You're like, okay, shouldn't be doing interviews in a language I don't speak, but what are you gonna do? So he goes, it's everywhere that you go, your soul goes or something.
Okay.
Sientas bien.
¿Qué es tu cerebro? ¿Qué es eso?
What's the brain? What's that?
Es una cosa que tienes en la cabeza, ¿no? Sí, ¿qué
That's something that you have in your head, right? I was like, yeah. And then I was like, what does it do?
hace? Funciona. Sí.
He's like, the function?
Claro.
No, sorry, I said the function? He said, what? Oh, and then he said, yeah, well, it does thinking.
En la cabeza, ¿no? Sí, ¿qué hace? Funciona. Sí. Te hace pensar. Pensar. Pensar, sí. No es la alma quien piense. También. También.
It's the soul and the brain that do thinking. The brain, we know how it does thinking. The soul, the unstudiable, unobserved.
También van conectados. Los dos, entonces. Sí. Los dos. Ok. ¿Algo más a decir? No. Ok, entonces, alma, todo lugares. No, todo.
I don't know how to say everywhere. So then he says omnipresent.
¿Todo qué? Omnipresente. Omnipresente, sí. Oh, ok. Como el Dios.
So I was like God. You're omnipresent like God?
Sí. Oh, eres Dios también.
What I meant to say was she says diosas, goddess. But I said, are you days? Are you dias?
Dio. Dia o feminine.
You mentioned the pause at all. That's hilarious. Watch. Because I start speaking French, I go, God, but in the feminine. So I say God in Spanish, and then I start trying to say in the feminine. And I'm saying that in French. I'm definitely a human brain. Watch me glitch.
También. Eso. Dio. Dia o feminine.
Dios.
Sí. Dios.
¿Qué pasa con eso?
I didn't hear her say diosas until I was editing.
Eran Dios.
Diosas.
Tienen almas quien son omnipresentes.
So do you have souls that are omnipresent?
Sí.
¡Cuatro Dios!
So I got really excited about speaking of 4 gods in this paradise. All right, now here's one of the big ones that we want. All right, so this is important. We're gonna talk about this for a second.
Eso. Soy votre âme.
Ton âme.
So your soul, where is it?
Ton âme.
Il est où?
Where is it?
À l'intérieur de
Et vous?
ton âme.
So Jean-François points up there.
Toi, ton âme, c'est là-haut?
Moi dedans.
I say, oh, your soul's up there. Then François, because I think the black shirt is Jean-François. François says, well, my soul's in here.
Dedans ici?
I haven't seen it lately. It's around here somewhere. So then he asked the woman, Francois asked the woman, so do you think that your soul is inside? Or is it, I'll let you listen to the way he said it first.
Around?
Il avait dedans ou il surveillait un drone?
So he goes, so you, is your soul inside, or is it just like surveilling, is like around like a drone? I don't think I ever heard what she said until just now. Or maybe I did anyway, she said, I've never asked myself that question.
Ok, dernière question. Est-ce que c'est possible que le cerveau soit l'âme?
Ça m'étonnerait.
So I said, all right, last question, is it possible that the soul be the brain? And he said, oh, that would surprise me.
Sinon, on serait tous beaucoup plus intelligents.
Tu m'as tué là, François. You killed me, François. What? You would be more intelligent? This is why I want to talk about this one. Because then we've seen this in other interviews, that people have associated the word brain with intelligence and rationality and knowledge. It handles the body. And then as far as like, if you're like, are you thinking with your brain or not? They will take that literally. They will literally talk about like the brain, it's for when I'm being rational. And then I have my intuition and other irrational cognitive mechanisms elsewhere. And he thinks, it just literally in the most fundamental way doesn't make sense what he just said. Please tell me how I'm wrong. There's a body. It's got a brain in the skull. The self is in the heart. It has this organ, this super intelligent, knowledgeable, rational, blah, blah, blah organ. The individual is not smart. Humans are not smart. He says we do a whole bunch of stupid things. So, like, what's going on is the self, if the self was, like, spent a little bit more time up there in the skull, listening to the neurons or whatever, because, the self is some kind of a ghost in the machine, then we would, like, be smarter. So, like, we know, like, the right answers, like, and this is different from people who, like, act like their heart automatically, a priori, knows the right answers. But it's as though he's saying, like, the brain is by itself rational, logical, intelligent, and knowledgeable. And because, like, the ghost in the machine doesn't spend much time up there, the whole body does stupid stuff. But, like, I just don't understand, like, in order for the brain to do its thing, to send out that knowledge, to direct the muscles, are you saying that the soul needs to go up there? But then if surely the anesthesiologist, he's an anesthesiologist, will believe that there's a motor cortex, a motor strip. Sorry. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. If you asked me to work back from the prefrontal cortex, I would have hit the motor first, because I know you need the premotor of the frontal cortex and then the motor. Hopefully I would have said that. But often when I visualize it, I visualize the sensory strip first. That's really embarrassing. Maybe you can't see that. Alright, so that purple thing, our favorite color, that's the motor, primary motor area. That's the motor strip. Okay. All right, so he would say that that's happening, that that's real, I think. Okay. So then, when we have to behave, a lot of behavior involves the movement of limbs or the production of speech here in the green. Broca's speech area. Okay. So if the brain were doing its own thing and were able to just move the limbs and send out speech, then our outputs would be smart. It literally does. You can't even make it make sense, can you? Or even sound like it makes sense to a human brain. So the soul is the producer of behavioral output. And he's saying that that behavioral output sucks. We're stupid. If the brain were the producer of behavioral output, the behavioral output would be better. But 100%, he wouldn't tell me that the motor cortex is in here. He would say the motor cortex is in the brain. So then it's like, is the soul then wants to make a dumb behavioral decision, goes to the motor cortex to pull the strings, and the rest of the brain is like, whoa, I was about to do this other behavior that was super smart, rational, and knowledgeable, and reasonable, and whatever. I mean, what? He's a doctor, by the way. Please comment if you feel me about how sort of you can't put those things together. One, accepting the motor cortex and Broca's area. Two, believing that the brain, if it were left to its own devices, would be producing good output. And then three, that the soul is producing the output, but it has to do that through the brain, but it doesn't benefit from any of the greatness of the brain. You know, but it's just like, I don't even know why I'm... And we couldn't laugh together on this one because, bro, that's literally why we're dumb, is because we're brains that didn't evolve to do why I say it to them.
Dernière question. Est-ce que c'est possible que le cerveau soit l'âme?
Ah, ça m'étonnerait. Sinon, on serait tous beaucoup plus intelligents.
He said that would surprise me because if it were the case, we'd all be a lot more intelligent. All right, you're saying maybe he's making a joke. All right, let's just keep going though.
Et toutes les conneries qu'on fait.
He said with all the stupid shit we do.
L'âme, c'est sûrement ailleurs.
He said, yeah, the soul is definitely elsewhere. Is he joking, like just 100%? No, you saw the way he responded when I said about the thing about the brain and soul being the same. What if the brain just isn't that intelligent, knowledgeable, rational, and perfect?
C'est qu'est-ce que l'âme?
Right? And I love... I don't like when people smile. Okay. I like Francois' smile, even though some of the stuff he's saying is annoying me. But Jean-Francois has this big smile. He's so proud of himself for what is, he's saying, but then, you gotta ask, what is the soul? Yeah, no shit we have to ask that. We also have to realize that we don't have an answer to it. Okay, we don't have to just stop at, oh, what a deep question. We can also be like, oh, what an absence of an answer. Let's drop this. You know damn well I'm not saying that. Anytime you don't have an answer to a question, drop the question. But if you have a brain, if the brain answers the question, now you can drop this whole thing. I mean, if understanding the brain provides an explanation of soul things, then we can drop the soul thing.
Alors, vous avez une réponse?
So then I was like, yeah, hey, no shit. So do you have an answer?
Hein?
Energy. That's your answer? Energy. That's what you are. You are energy. Yeah, you're also cells.
Comme nous, il n'y a pas d'âme individuelle.
Oh, and then they talked about something about, what do you say? Energy, like all the energy? So I was like, okay, so there are no individual souls?
Ah oui, c'est ça. Alors, vous avez une réponse?
L'âme, c'est la différence.
Hein? L'énergie.
So he said the soul is the energy around us. Francois is starting to say the difference. The difference, but it's for something he's about to say.
Pour nous, il n'y a pas d'âme individuelle.
So now I ask, there's no personal soul. And now the doctor, the anesthesiologist, tells me, 21 grams or 27 grams or whatever. So this unobservable, immaterial thing weighs 27 grams.
Oui, c'est ça. Très bien.
We don't know where it is. He said, does it need to be a molecule? Not sure. Wait, you just said 27 grams. I mean, it could be granite maybe, but molecule is just making more sense for me in, like, granite is molecules. So, wait, everything's molecules. So, actually it is for sure. What have we found that isn't molecules besides photons? And atoms, the basis of molecules, but for big structures like a brain, just a bunch of photons bouncing around in there. Couldn't have interpretive mechanisms with photons. You need treatment of the information, but they're literally just a little while ago we saw someone say that we are light beings.
Bien sûr.
So he said, I'm not sure the soul could be a molecule. Weighs 27 grams, so has mass, but it's not physical. And also it's here, but we don't know where it is. I'm an anesthesiologist, and no cardiologist has ever been like, can you give me the plier, whatever thing? I just need to move the soul over here. Can you give me I can't think of any terms for surgical tools. Give me a soul clamp so I can just get that out of the way for this triple bypass. This 20-gram structure over here.
Si. Bien sûr. Si on pouvait.
And then, of course, because these questions about the very foundation and essence of what they are and everything that they perceive and think and everything, because these questions are getting a little tricky, because we like to just go on autopilot, we like to just run the programs and not know anything about the programs. I think this is when he said, I thought it was more clear when he said it, but I think maybe this is when he said, do we need to understand it? And he goes, not sure we need to understand what we are either. But I didn't have any whiskey in me and I was feeling sociable, so I just responded about a possible benefit. I'll translate that for you.
Comprendre l'esprit, si on pouvait comprendre nous-mêmes les mécanismes.
If we could understand the mind, if we could understand ourselves,
Qui nous font fonctionner.
The mechanisms that make us function.
Les mécanismes de la réflexion, des
The mechanisms of reflection.
pensées, des croyances.
Of thoughts and beliefs.
De la moralité et tout.
Of morality and all that stuff, I think.
Servira, oui.
I think that could be useful, yeah.
Ouais.
Yes, Francois. There would be less war. Yes, if we understood the processes that lead us to feel like war is justified, then yes. If we weren't so damn sure about every stupid shit our shit stem produces.
C'est un peu moins con. Bon, il faut poser la question fixe. Voilà, c'était une bonne question à poser pour Vera.
Yes.
Là, on tient, là. Merci.
Merci à vous. Hein. Et Tsune, je vous donne une carte.
All right. So then he says, what about you? For you, where is it? Okay, we're going to have to do a grocery run. And watch what he thinks about my response.
Je crois que c'est juste des réseaux de neurones.
I think it's just neural networks. And I think you could hear him already starting to respond.
Je vous donne une carte. crois que c'est juste des réseaux de neurones.
Oh non, c'est pas possible.
And her. He goes, no, it's not possible. And she immediately.
Là, tiens, là, merci.
Ben, merci à vous. Hein. Et tenez, je vous donne une carte.
Non, mais toi, elle est où, du coup?
Je crois que c'est juste des réseaux de neurones.
Oh non, c'est pas possible.
Pas possible.
Triste comme réponse.
Ah, c'est
She said, oh no, that's a sad answer.
Ouais, tu sais, moi, je suis anesthésiste. J'endors.
And this is when he reveals he's an anesthesiologist. And so he puts people to sleep. Doesn't even know where the soul, the awareness, or anything is. And somehow he puts people to sleep. Seems irresponsible to me.
Ouais.
Molécules.
Oui.
Donc, moi, je peux te dire qu'avec des molécules, tu peux faire tout ce que tu veux.
He said, listen, I put you people to sleep with molecules. With molecules, you can do anything.
Oh non, c'est pas possible.
Pas possible.
Triste comme réponse.
Ah, c'est triste.
Ouais, tu sais, moi, je suis anesthésiste. J'endors les gens.
Ouais.
Molécules.
Oui.
Okay, so I put people to sleep with molecules.
Moi, je peux te dire qu'avec des molécules, tu peux faire tout ce que tu veux.
So I can tell you that with molecules, you can do anything you want.
À tout le monde.
To anybody.
Oui.
On a juste des tuyaux.
C'est ça.
What? Something about pipes. Like either we are just pipes or you just need some pipes. I mean, not necessarily pipes. That can mean hose or that can mean like an IV line, maybe.
C'est-à-dire qu'avec des molécules, tu peux faire tout ce que tu veux à tout le monde.
Oui.
On a juste des tuyaux.
C'est ça.
I think you said we are just because you weren't like this, right?
C'est-à-dire qu'avec des molécules, tu peux faire tout ce que tu veux à tout le monde.
Oui.
On a juste des tuyaux.
C'est ça.
Oh no, I don't know. So it might be that you just need to plug the person in.
Si ton âme, c'est ça,
And so he says, if that's your soul, this thing that's affected by anesthetics.
c'est moi ton âme. En molécule, je suis ton âme. Donc,
Bah oui.
ça peut pas être ça, c'est trop. C'est moi ton âme.
Oh, he said, if that's your soul, then I'm your soul. I have control over your soul. No, you think my soul is in my heart. You could put my soul to sleep, for sure. You can make sure my soul never wakes up again, never experiences it again. You could absolutely do that. But so long as you don't know how the neural networks function, and so long as you don't know how to excite potentials here and there and inhibit, no, you personally can't. You'd be looking in the wrong cavity. But yeah, someone could absolutely go in there. If you give me a lobotomy, you think my soul's gonna be okay? Jesus Christ.
En molécule, je suis ton âme. Donc,
Bah oui.
ça peut pas être ça, c'est trop.
Ah non, mais non.
And so that's his explanation. So then, because of the fact that...
Cherche.
And so then I say to him, researchers can right now change the souls of, like, mice and so on. Just add a little oxytocin. She treats her family differently. Take some oxytocin out. She neglects her kids. Offer up some cocaine. She neglects herself, her kids, and everybody.
Ça le fait, ça, justement, ça change. Le passé. On est juste. C'est pour ça qu'on est con.
Ah, okay.
Qui n'ont pas évolué pour. Pardon, le passé. On est juste des réseaux de neurones.
And by the way, if I were a proper good human, I would say, oh, I think that she has to get by. I said pardon, which is good, even though I obviously have nothing to say sorry for, but that's a good human thing to do. Well, that's an easy one. One that I often forget is to add, I think. Oh, I think she might want to get by. And then maybe I move around a little bit, even though I'm not at all in the way. Humans.
Pas évolué pour réfléchir à des questions. Je me dis qu'on est con.
So I think that we are stupid because
En fait, on est juste des réseaux de neurones. Oh,
because we are just neural networks. Oh, she wants to get by.
le passé. On est juste des réseaux
We are just neural
de neurones
networks
qui n'ont pas évolué pour
that didn't evolve to respond. I said of the questions that we ask ourselves today, but I meant to the questions.
réfléchir à des questions comme ça. Et du coup, c'est pour ça qu'on est con.
And so we don't have the neural networks for these questions, and that's why we're stupid when he asks us these questions. And then, of course, Jean-Francois has a little cute little comment that I don't understand.
Une raison plus.
Yet another reason. For me, it's the reason
On est con.
that we're stupid.
Oui, parce que justement, les biais cognitifs, vous savez ce que c'est?
So I said, I mean, like, cognitive biases, you know what that is?
Les erreurs qui font l'esprit.
Oh, this was bad conjugation. I said the mistakes that the brain make. But mistakes that the brain makes?
Des centaines qu'on a déjà identifiées. Imaginons parce qu'on sait cette région-là, elle va communiquer avec cette région-là pour faire ce biais alors que...
So I say that, we've already identified hundreds. We know that, like, this area communicating with this area. I mean, that's not right. I shouldn't have phrased it that way, but also it is easier to digest when you think of it as different departments, sort of. So it's like this communication, this piece of the brain communicates this piece of the brain, and that produces an error, something that we see often.
Qu'on a déjà identifié. Imaginons parce qu'on sait cette région-là, elle va communiquer avec cette région-là pour faire ce biais alors que... Regarde, on est en train de découvrir que les arbres ils parlent entre eux via des réseaux de champignons. Ouais.
So when he talks about, he says we're in the process of discovering that the trees talk to each other. We talked about that earlier. Yes, because there are literal, physical processing items. When this root is affected by something, it has an effect on this root, which has an effect on this root, which has an effect on this root. Yes. And for us, it's kind of the same thing, except it's neurons, and they're up here rather than down there.
C'est sûr.
And then he says, look, we just discovered that roots can have communication systems, so there might be things we don't understand. There's a ton we don't understand. And I'm trying to help you with one of those things right now. So, but he is a doctor and not for rien. Not for... Oh, can we start saying Henri? I mean, I don't like how I pronounce Henry, but for rien, le verlan de rien, est-ce qu'on peut dire chez Henri, là? Ah ouais, mais là, il y a mon pote Henri qui me rend visite. Du coup, tu peux me payer le verre? And that's cool.
Quand tu fais la physique, tu as la physique moléculaire, et puis quand tu passes à la physique quantique, les lois s'appliquent plus.
And he goes, you talk about the macro scale, and you got the Newtonian physics, or whatever he said. I don't know what he said, but then you go to a smaller scale, and those things. Yeah, but neurons are not on that small scale. Neurons are macro, baby. Maybe there's a quantum mechanics to this all. What I really have to do is ask people, give me a function of the soul. Tell me a function of the soul. And hopefully, if they give me 5 functions, at least 3 of them, I'll be able to give them some kind of a loose explanation for for how it happens. Define soul, reason. Let's choose one. Reason, mind, brain, intuition. All right, so I'll ask them to define those things. Give a function of the soul. Sorry. Hey, thanks for, it's hard being all alone in this office. So thanks for working with me. Over the past several months, I've gotten like a comment every once in a while. Makes my day, bro. So, I mean, if you're not, but also don't be shy, I won't be shy about telling you, oh, no. I don't think you and I are going to be able to have this conversation. So try. And then just don't take it personally. No, who am I to...
Je vois plutôt ça comme ça. Ah oui. Parce que le jour où on serait capable de voir où est l'âme, on pourra la manipuler. Donc peut-être il y a une physique quantique de l'âme qu'on n'est même pas foutu d'imaginer. Je vois plutôt ça.
Definitely, the human brain, their neuronal architecture is not such that it can understand just anything. Basically understand just a little bit more than anything it evolves to understand, sort of. So yes, but stop weaponizing that to refute hundreds of years of research. I'm exaggerating when I say hundreds, because finest gauge was 1848.
Ah oui.
Parce que les gens seraient capables de voir où est l'âme, on pourra la manipuler.
So then he basically says, hey, if people find where the soul is, then they can manipulate it. Bro, people are well ahead of you. Look, most marketers don't know much about psychology. They just follow their own instincts. And since they are brains, they have a certain knowledge about what works for brains. But here's the thing, then sometimes they intellectualize it. And then because of their assumption that people are reasonable, they might realize, oh, no, that wouldn't work on them. But if they go with their intuition about what would work on them, then they wouldn't know what would work on other people. And that's what a lot of marketers do. Marketing is a billion, I don't know why that's true. It is a big industry. And it is what I wanted to do when I was younger. I wanted to create a sort of a neuromarketing, but other stuff as well, firm. Other neuro stuff where we advise giant corporations and make a ton of money advising a bunch of corporations about how they change their logo this way, about how they change their website this way, about how they change their uniforms that way, about how they change their job interviews this way, about how they'll do better. So yeah, bro, you're not going to be able to hide your soul. It's already being manipulated, bro. Every time there's a sexy woman or a famous person in an ad that you watch, you are being manipulated. And I know that you know that humans are dumb, but I bet you think that you're too smart to be manipulated by those ads. Well, I'm not stupid. It's not because I see some titties that I'm going to buy a thing. Yes, it is actually.
Sauf si les âmes apprennent leur propre
and it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. This stuff that he's saying. Logically, it just doesn't sort of hold as justifications for why what he's saying is true. I mean, not only is it unsound, but it's invalid. So his thing about if we knew where the soul was, and I hope if I understood him correctly, but he had a little bit of an accent that I wasn't comfortable with. But one, we do know where the soul is. And even if marketers, so there are neuromarketing firms. Okay, there's one called, I don't know. I don't remember what it's called. Some Indian guy developed one. And within the next 50 years, with AI, with brain scans, and with psychologists and neuroscience, we will 100%, 99.9% likelihood that we will be able to literally be talking about which regions we are activating in our ads, which networks. So then if we have the woman wait a second longer before she smiles at the man, that is going to activate the insula, the anticipation of reward, because we know that from this moment she's probably going to smile, but we're going to drag it out a little bit longer so that we get that anticipation feeling a little bit longer. Stuff like that. And then I was like, bruh, if souls knew their own programming, wouldn't it be a little bit harder to manipulate them? If a soul knew that as soon as I see titties, I'm in a buying mood, put some oxygen in the room, I'm in a paying mood, you make me laugh, I'm going to pay, put some bright lights, I'm going to pay. And people know that about casinos. But not if people go to casinos, I bet. I bet they'll tell you, like, yeah, that's like a thing, but they probably consider themselves immune for it. You can't spend your life in a casino knowing that the reason is because of all the flashy lights, the beautiful women, the free alcohol, and the oxygen, and the no windows, and the no clocks. Can you? I guess a human brain could. That's right, brother. I am right. I said, if you teach your soul about its own programming, maybe it can see some of the manipulation coming. And he goes, yeah, true. I like Francois a lot. Because I know I've said true to a few things he said. He said a lot of garbage, but there's some things that are absolutely true, and he doesn't even realize how true they are.
Mon père, il est d'accord, il croit que...
And then I throw in little jabs in case my dad sees these videos where I need my dad to feel I'm about to admit to yeah, I do admit it. In this one case, this is not my typical MO with people. But the only way that my dad is going to listen to me about the brain or develop any real understanding about it that isn't just based on his intuitions is if I knock him down a peg. So sometimes my videos, I will laugh at him. I'll talk about, yeah, then there's my dad who believes in this quantum mechanic bullshit, and I'm hoping that he's going to go, oh, but I'm one of the intellectual elite. I'm not like them. Come on, Dad. I didn't come from... I came from good stock. I came from good, critical thinking, I came from smarts. I can't believe you still think you're a soul. Chris will say, no, I don't think I'm a soul. He does. He thinks he's a quantum... Oh! He said, anyway, it's something that we can't really understand. That should scare the shit out of you. We can't understand what we are or how we function or how we can be manipulated and how to avoid it. I don't want them to get me then. Blah, 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 blah.
Oui. Oui. Super. Merci. Vous vous appelez comment? François. François? Jean-François. Jean-François et Alice.
Why do they laugh like that? Had they not met? Were they not actually together or something? Or do they do that every time they introduce themselves together with someone?
Is it okay if I record your answer? Sure. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I think that Jean-François, I think he's like that. Hey, I bet he'd be fun at a party. Just don't know a real... That's not the point.
Okay, so the mind is in the skull?
Definitely on this type of patients, the mind is right here.
But the mind move.
What the fuck are you talking about? You stop smiling like that. And you're so handsome, and you've got this amazing family and stuff. And you're probably only like 10 years older than me. You've got all your shit together. I don't understand your joke. And that's the worst part. I don't understand. Why are you saying that just on this trip with this nature, the mind is here? That's not slapping any thoughts here.
Psilocybin, does it move the mind?
I think did I say psilocybin? Anyway, so I asked him, and does it move though? Because he's like, yeah, right now it's definitely here. Does it move?
No, it dissolves it.
He said, no, psilocybin doesn't move the mind, but it dissolves the ego. And that's actually biologically true. Psilocybin reduces the limit that you feel between this body and the rest. And then, of course, if you're a MOA person, then you're going to go, oh, then that means that I have actually left this space. That because I no longer sense the limits, that's because they are no longer there and my presence has actually changed. Because my sense of my presence has changed, my presence has actually changed. But if you have any objectivity or science about you, Dad, my dad said to me, I hope I have a recording of it, literally, and I'm just going to ask you to take my word for it for now, because I remember how shocked I was, and I really do believe this. I can't put anything at 100%, so maybe I did misunderstand, but if you were in my shoes, you'd be putting this at 150%. He says that the brain literally slows down time in an emergency to give you more time to respond to it. First of all, there's the dualist problem. Second of all, there's literally slows down time. He said to me, it's not an illusion. It literally it's a real thing. I said, okay, number one, illusions are real things. They're not the real things that they elude, but they are themselves real things with real consequences. Number two, no, time does not actually slow down. It is about how we sense it. It is not about it. And that's really hard for a lot of human brains to understand the difference between our perceptions and the actual thing. I remember I told on my channel this story. I'm gonna try to make it quick. Why don't you just fast forward a minute to see whether I'm done? I think I will be done in a minute, and then come back and it'll be quick. We were out in Paris with someone. She purports to be able to remember every face she's ever seen, and blah blah. The waitress we were with did a little prank on us where she pretended that she and her imaginary twin sister were both working the same shift. And so the waitress I talked to was not actually the waitress that had seen us. Had been her twin sister. And so Louise, the person that we were eating with, goes, I knew it. I knew it wasn't her because I have this perfect recollection of faces, blah, blah, blah. And I am expressing a little skepticism, but I didn't need to rain on her parade. But my dad got really excited. Wow, it's amazing that you can do that, blah, blah. And I was like, Dad, stop. And he looks at me, he's like, she just said she can do it. She can. She thinks that she can, but stop it. And then shortly after that, the waitress revealed that it was a joke. There was no twin sister, and indeed it had been her. And so our friend Louise, who thought that it was a different person, was wrong. And by the way, our friend Louise only thought it was a different person because the waitress acted like she was a different person. And then my friend Louise was like, oh yeah, I see differences. Therefore, there are differences. The difference apparently was actually she had put on a scarf, and that's why everybody was like not sure if it was the same person. But then Louise noticed the scarf, so it changed the overall profile, but then she attributed the change to an actual facial feature, because apparently she can tell twins apart. And then, last thing is when I did mushrooms, when I did psilocybin, because he just did like a psilocybin retreat, that's why we were talking about it. When I did psilocybin, my dad was asking whether I could see in more vivid detail, whether I could perceive more detail. Like, bro, it's possible, but I'm not sure that psilocybin actually refines my rod and cone receptors. I tried to tell him I don't think that I see in more detail, but I do have the impression of seeing in more detail. And I don't know why that is. I don't know whether it's because I'm spending more time with the thing, whether there's more contrast, whether maybe the colors are sort of brighter. But I'm not actually like literally seeing more detail where how many little lines are this? Oh, you have psilocybin. Now you can see all the little folds in the paper or whatever. And he got upset. I wanted to strangle him. He got upset. He was like, what's an impression? And I was like, I don't know. It's a mental event. I don't know. But I think it is the appropriate word. I feel like I have an impression of clarity without actually having additional clarity. Visual clarity. I feel like I really did have some clarity in. No, I shouldn't say that because the only difference. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Yeah. 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 The default mode network, right? Exactly. All right. And he doesn't give a shit. He's just thinking about his 8-year-old kids doing one of the hardest hikes I've ever done. Feel bad for underestimating them. I was like, oh yeah, probably don't do it with the kids. And he was like, oh no, we did it yesterday with an even younger one. Cool. I'll let you get back to it. You seem to already have the right answers anyway. All right, so this one we're going to be quick because we're done. We're going to go to sleep. Et il fait ça avec votre cerveau. Now, this is incredible. This one was incredible. I really like this guy. I hope he's going to be a friend of mine. He's probably not watching this because I don't know how good his English is and all his other shit to do, probably. And also other shit that he enjoys doing more than watching me drink some whiskey and be mad at human brains. But, so, alright, so he just said, it's him who gives me the breath of life. He's talking about the higher power thing. But he also described himself as an animist. Neo, don't start.
Moi, est-ce que c'est
Hey, Neo, if they're not breaking down the door, Neo, if they're not breaking down the door, they don't need to hear from you.
possible que toutes tes émotions et toutes tes pensées ont lieu dans ta crâne, dans votre cerveau?
Love this moment. So I ask him, what if I'm like, yo, all of your emotions and your thoughts happen in your skull?
Ça, c'est possible. Du coup,
He goes, yeah. He goes, that's possible? He goes, yeah.
vous direz que
Then he says God gets him up every morning by being a little marionetter to his marionette. And I was like, and so how does he do that? Like, what are these strings that he pulls to get you out of bed? Is it through your brain? He was like, yeah.
les gens vont se rendre compte que nous, on fait partie de la nature. Et
bizarre, j'ai compris que la nature,
les gens, c'est un peu un
nation, alors, deux, qui me dit que quand on se moque, que la nature est très importante.
Oui.
Déjà.
Très bien. Et il fait ça avec votre cerveau.
And he does that. He gets you up in the morning with your brain.
Cool.
And Valero's like, yeah, bro. Okay.
C'est tout, en fait. Est-ce que vous voulez ajouter?
Okay, and then we talk about nature and the importance of it. That's cool, right? Alright, let's see whether you can finish before... this is the last thing. We're not going to talk about Ekmund. I recommend watching this one. Because Ekmund, I like him a lot. Open-minded, fairly reasonable in the sense that, you know, when I'm saying something that I think is reasonable, he's not elsewhere. He's like, huh, okay, yeah. Of course, maybe, even if I weren't saying something reasonable, he would have responded that way. I don't know. But, anyway, this one's really cool.
Yeah. But
I think we're gonna just look at a little bit of that. But right now we need to talk about software. We're gonna skip Alejandra, and we're gonna go straight to Carlos. All right, let's talk.
Pregunto a Carlos también.
Vale.
So I said I'm asking Carlos as well.
Carlos?
Sí.
There I said Carlos.
Hola, buenas.
Entonces, preguntaba a Alejandra,
Sí.
¿Qué es la mente?
I was asking Alejandro, what is the mind?
Uf, qué pregunta más complicada.
What a complicated question.
Pues la mente es todo lo que
Pero
pasa.
tú eres un mente, ¿no?
I said, but you are a mind. Why are you saying it's complicated? You're a mind, aren't you? And then he says, yeah, I have a mind.
¿Cómo?
Mente? Tú eres una mente.
Bueno, yo tengo una mente, sí.
He said, yeah, I have a mind. I said, you
Tienes una mente,
Sí.
no eres.
Mente es todo.
I was like, you have a mind. You are not a mind. And then he started telling us.
Nuestro proceso interno de pensar.
She said the mind is all of our internal processes, our thoughts.
De pensar. Sí. Okay. Y el cerebro también las piensas.
El cerebro es la parte física.
So the brain is the physical part because humans are magical and we have a non-physical essence.
Como Alejandro.
Y la mente es.
And Alejandro said the same thing. So then Carlos says the mind is.
Proceso que hace.
Pero ¿cómo sabe que
It's like, how do you know that the mind and the brain are different?
el cerebro y la mente no están la misma cosa?
No, porque el cerebro es la parte física.
And he said, I know that they aren't because they aren't. I know that they aren't the same thing because one is physical and one is non-physical. And I'm sure he'd agree, unobservable, unstudyable, and ununderstandable, blah, blah.
Y la mente es
La mente no puede
la
estar-
intangible, la que no es física.
Okay. Y,
Es como un ordenador. Tú ves el ordenador.
Ordinador. They don't say computadora? Okay. So he said it's like a ordinador, which is easy for me because ordinateur en français.
Sí.
El software, o sea, el hardware,
Sí.
Pero no ves el software.
All right. To finish this video, still recording? Let's look at the software thing. Here's the idea that I had. First of all, I don't actually know what software is. So how can software not be physical? Okay? And yes, I'm revealing a serious weak point that I have. If software is literally non-physical, like in every way, don't listen to me about the soul, because I have already told you I don't understand quantum mechanics. I don't understand computers. I compare the brain to the computer. So maybe I don't understand the mind whatsoever. Let's look at what is software, because if software so suppose that the hardware of a computer doesn't change. Suppose. I don't know. But suppose you're working on it, you create a document, you save a document, none of the hardware has changed. Okay. So then it's the bits that have changed. The data stored not physically in the hardware. Okay. That's not how the brain works. The brain is not hardware that stores bits. The brain stores its information by having connections. So in the brain, it is physical. If it isn't chemistry, then it's a specific arrangement of neurons. And you move that connection, and you have changed the information in the brain. Memories are physical connections. Are physical pairings, let's say, of neurons. So it is where this neuron's activity has a synapse with this neuron, and so can activate it. That's what a memory is. Look, memory is not my thing, but I think that's pretty much true what I just said. So if there's this magical information storing completely non-physical information storing process, that's bullshit. Then why do you need the hardware? What, the hardware is just for the electricity? And then you have this immaterial data in there? No, it's stored in the... Software is a set of instructions, data, or programs used to operate computers and execute specific tasks. Yeah, our software is architecture, our mental software. We also have our genes, of course, which are a set of instructions that are physical nucleotides. So I think that this whole software mind metaphor might just kind of be bullshit. Just another way to pretend that we are magic. Software is a set of instructions, data, or programs used to operate computers and execute specific tasks. It is the opposite of hardware, which describes the physical aspects of a computer. Okay, so apparently it's non-physical. Software is a generic term used to refer to application description, blah, blah, blah. It can be thought of as the variable part of a program, while hardware is the invariable part. Bro, I still don't know what software is, but what I can tell you is that there's not an invariable part of the brain. That the connections are changing. Okay, great. I didn't expect us to be able to deal with this that quickly. Wanna go outside? Go outside. Go outside. Okay, let's keep going. The two main categories. Yeah, there's no invariable part of the brain. I mean, there are parts that would be extremely difficult and are basically invariable connections to change. Thank goodness, like your regulation of your heartbeat. There's still some people who do some meditation and are able to. All right, the two application software, blah blah. No, I want a better answer. I gotta know. I gotta be able to picture software, and this might just be a limitation of my own soul, bro. Maybe I just can't understand the soul in because I just don't. I just need to be able to imagine. I just don't understand software. Um, KS. Conjunto de programas, instrucciones, reglas informáticas para ejecutar ciertas tareas en una computadora. Okay? So yeah, so 100% that's physical in the human brain. It's connections. Synapses. Great. You know what? We're done. Fuck all the rest of this, and didn't really want to roll a joint on camera anyway. So, bye. And if you're out there and you watch this, and I'm not actually the only brain that knows it's a brain, hit me up, bro.